So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dapper Reacts number, whatever this number is. I think it's number, I can't even tell if I scroll up there. It's number 115, and I am now unmuting everyone because Kip said, "Are we live?" right as I said, "Welcome to Dapper Reacts, everyone." Because even though I give them warnings, like saying, "Hey, we've only got a minute or 45 seconds," they still ask.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know why I love my new computer.
Yeah.
I do. It's amazing. But I gotta say, on occasion, Siri just kicks in. Oh goddamn. Well, because I said it that time. But I'm not even an Assyriologist. Shut up. So it just, it will come on and do random shit. So yeah, it's really annoying. I've probably got a setting on here somewhere that I can and should turn off. But hi everyone.
Hello. All right. Well, first things, we got a few things to read before we really get into things. One is that Benthic Tunica has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So while I take 5 drinks, Vishanti, tell people on a scale of 1 to 10 how annoying it is that we don't have a Romulan dictionary, even though there is a Conlang for it now that has officially been used in real Star Trek productions.
Like 11. I'm so serious. I have been wanting a Romulan dictionary for years so that I can become conversational in Rahansu. Okay.
Have you tried?
I need it. Have
you tried getting in contact with like the Star Trek Picard season 3 showrunner so that you could ask him?
That is on my to-do list.
I
also am very aware that this person happens to be extremely busy filming Vision Quest, so
it's not like
that's probably not a priority.
It's not like you've been in contact with this person for like the better part of a year or anything, is it?
I mean, we've actually been in contact for the better part of like almost 10 years now, but yeah, it picked up more in the last 2.
Okay. I'm gonna have to say that this is a problem that is at least partially of your own making.
It is not partially of my own making. It is not my fault that this thing doesn't exist.
I'm just saying, of all the people in all that I know who are Star Trek fans who could do something to make it happen, you are the one with the absolute most influence over that happening that I know.
I don't really think I have any influence. I can just say, hey, as a rando, I would like this thing. Okay.
The showrunner is Terry Metalis, Babel. All right, we got a few more things to read. Benthic Tunica for £2 says, AIG are a symposium of semen syringes. We'll take a drink for that. Ooh. It's very nice.
Wow, that was good. Yeah.
Then Benthic Tunica also gave a £5 super chat that was retracted, but then sent another one. I think there was probably like mistakes in the first. And the second one says, let's see. There once was a man called Hodge whose brain was inclined to dislodge. His lies about Babel were doomed to unravel due to the facts he is unable to dodge. Thank you very much. Zerulon, who's been a member for 17 months and is at the tetrapod level, says no work emergencies on Saturday. Let's go Dapper time! Yeah, we had to push back my Friday game as a result of work emergencies. That's why, if you were paying attention on Top Hats Off, we did not play Alien TTRPG yesterday. But also, I want to say, hey, we got 5 new memberships. You know what that means is that we're going to stream for an extra 5 minutes, because I've decided that today, every new membership we get, whether it be gifted or not, we are going to stream for an extra minute, which means if you guys want an extra half an hour of Dapper and Vish and Kip, 25 more memberships. And if you want us, I did cap it at 120. If we go over 120 memberships, that's it. No more. I mean, you can still gift more or join
So that's
more.
wow. That's like 4 in the afternoon. Holy cow!
Yeah. I don't think we're going to do that. But then again, I've said that
Oh, come
before,
on.
and my audience
Yeah.
has surprised me. Plus, I mean, that would get us way past fancy avatar, and it's been a while since we had a fancy avatar.
Mm.
So, that'd be fun. But all right, we'll have to do it quick because we do have to get into the whole point of this. I'll say first we'll start with Kip. Kip, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I went for a bike ride on Thursday, which was awesome.
Okay.
And I wrote almost all day yesterday, which was very good. And I have the house to myself for the first time in 6 weeks, which
Nice.
is lovely.
Meet
So,
Permits Tad for one. It says gifted 1 membership. So thank you very much. We'll take a drink, and that's another minute.
It's such a great name.
Meet Permits, yeah. It's always extra fun when people who are fans of my channel and who have, as a result, weird like inside joke meme names go on other channels, and people are forced to read the names, and they're like, I have no idea what's happening. And then Lieutenant Matt the Navigator has just gifted 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. All right, let's take 5 drinks. While Kip, how inclined would you be to learn Romulan?
I have no inclination to learn Romulan.
Damn.
Not even if Fishanti and I both did it.
If you both did it,
Yeah.
and you
Peer
want
pressure.
someone to learn Romulan with you,
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
wow. I mean, I don't know. I guess what do I get? What do I get out of it besides knowing a language that I
Satisfaction?
can't use?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Learn for learning's sake, man.
I don't know if you know,
Jeez.
but
Mr.
I
PhD.
have so many things to learn for learning's sake. Why
Okay.
do I need more things?
all right, here's
to
why,
learn?
right? It turns out
I
Okay.
can't
that
believe.
learning, if you're actively learning a language, it makes you immune to dementia. I heard that on
That's.
Dr. Internet's
Yeah.
show. So
I mean, I guess I'm closer
It's
than both
true.
of you
I
to the
asked
onset of dementia.
the copyright.
yeah,
So,
but we're both really close to early onset dementia, and you've already gotten past that. You're probably good for that.
oh, is that? Hey, what is
Just into
the cutoff
onset.
for early onset dementia?
Whatever makes my argument work is the cutoff for early onset dementia.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
alright,
I mean,
this
I
is
already
It's so
used
weird how
Dr.
the age
Internet.
keeps
This
getting
is-
like raised every year. You know, must be new data.
This is what I get for hanging out with the kids.
It's true.
Kids.
Metageeky Platypus Warlock, who's been a member for 5 months, says, and at the Tetrapod level, says, doing taxes and dappering. Monocles are expensive.
Oh God,
Does
They
someone
certainly
want
can.
to do
Sorry.
my taxes? Because I'm
Yes.
gonna need some help.
please.
I did my taxes, and then thousands and thousands of dollars drained out of my bank account.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, it's what happens when you're self-employed, which means no
Mhm.
money gets taken out of your check initially, right? Like the money that I get from Google, because like, or PayPal, it just comes in as the gross amount, and that's just what gets transferred to my bank. Because they're not going to do the work to try to figure this out. I'm not an employee of either of those companies. I'm an independent contractor, so it's not up to them to take money out. It's up to me
Mhm.
to not spend all of it, so that I still have some for Uncle Sam when he comes knocking.
Lame.
Yeah.
I actually think I might have some coming back because you don't sign because I have to fill out I think it's called the WBEN-8, which is like foreign. It's for non-Americans. And on the form that I filled out for 2024, there was a deduction thing that I didn't, or I did. No, I didn't. I did something. But yeah, so I was like getting way less than I was supposed to for a while. So we'll see what happens. But yeah.
All right. So, Tiktaalik episode 3, Revenge of the Fish, for 200 Argentinian pesos, sends AIG and then a bunch of symbols from like the Inuktitut language, which I don't know, but I'm going to assume that they say is a bag of dicks. I'll take a drink.
I bet they do.
DM Wing, a member for 32 months, is at the annual level, says the solution is to not do your taxes, just ask Kent. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kent's not the
That's
only
one
one. I
way.
heard that Jeff Holiday is planning not to pay his taxes.
Who I don't know who this is. Who is Jeff Holiday?
He is a YouTuber who does he focuses a lot on like debunking a lot of like pseudo medical claims, like hey, go on this juice cleanse and it'll totally cure your cancer, which no, it won't. He does a lot of that stuff, and he's decided that if the president gets to be a king, he doesn't get taxes from Holiday because he doesn't want to pay taxes to a king. Which, hey, principled stance. I think that might end up with him in prison. So, hey. Look, I am not going to recommend that you avoid paying taxes to the United States government because they will send men with guns, and you will be forced into a cage.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's just doesn't matter because those men with guns won't care. Which is what I also would say to like the sovereign citizens, where it's like, oh, look at all these things about the Articles of Confederation and free men of the land and all this. It's like, but the people with the guns don't care. All that matters when it comes to the people with the guns is what they think. What you think means nothing to them.
True.
Let's see. Meat Permits Tad for $5 says Culture Cats was very confused by my name during his live stream Thursday. AIG is a pouch of peanut with a Godzilla. We'll take a drink. Thank you very much. Justiniano, who's been a member for 16 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says taxes are PIA plus AIG equal a sack of trouser snakes. Thank you. We will take a drink. All right. So, Vishanti. Would you care to... Well, actually, we'll do a little recap, right? So, this section of the book is...
You weren't here last week,
Yeah,
Shanti.
yeah.
I hope you're feeling better, by the way.
I don't have a migraine, so yeah.
Yeah, that'd do it.
Nice.
So, this part of the book is Bodie trying to explain why it is that people live for so long after the flood, and then not so long after the flood. Sorry, so long before the flood, not so long after. Anyway. And he goes through some of the explanations that have been previously given, right? Like, maybe their diet changed, or they started eating meat, or maybe the atmosphere didn't have as much oxygen or something. And he basically goes through reasons why he doesn't think any of those work. And to be fair to him, most of his reasons are in fact reasons why that's a silly explanation. But then he gets to another explanation that he does think works, and it's also silly, and it's there were mutations, because apparently there just weren't mutations before the flood. And also, that's not what mutations do. At least not usually.
Wait. I mean, I guess we could get in and read this, but weren't there mutations like right away after expulsion from the Garden of Eden? Like, wasn't that part of that?
So, it depends on who you ask, because of course, the Bible says absolutely nothing about mutations, because no one who wrote the Bible knew what a mutation was.
Certainly,
so, like,
yes.
yeah, they just make it up.
We're talking about AIG here, right?
AIG usually says that things like mutation happen after the fall, yeah. So that would be between the expulsion from the garden and Noah's Ark. There should have been plenty of mutations accumulating. So, yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But then also, Dutchman has never saw snow tunic for $5 says, Bodie Hodge para lingüística
Do
que
you want me to
Sure,
read
go
this?
for it.
Bodie Hodge hace para lingüística que flirts, hace para lógica básica. Godzilla emoji. Espero que mi español está bien.
Nice, we'll take a drink. Which is, of course, Bodie Hodge. It says has, but it's like.
What did he
Bodie's
say about
logic.
the flirfs?
Bodie's logic is like a
Oh.
flirt's basic logic. And I hope my Spanish is good.
I hope my Spanish is good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, no, that's roughly correct. Yeah, the Dean Wing says the Bible talks about stripy stick mechanism of mutation. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm with TikTok on this. If you were gonna tweak the grammar slightly, it would probably flow better. TikTok is saying Bodie Hodge es para la lingüística lo que los flirts para la lógica básica.
Those articles are important.
Yeah, it's
Important shit.
Spanish is a little weird about the.
No, it's not.
articles that
English
way.
is weird about articles that way. Most languages with articles are more like Spanish in their use of articles than English
Yes.
is.
Yeah, it's just like if you're used to doing the weird Frankenstein type of English grammar, then it doesn't make intuitive sense.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Look, English is the weirdo when it comes to article use. English uses the definite article way less often than most languages with definite article.
By the way, I forgot to say, and this was a big deal. I taught my fourth lesson in Hebrew on Tuesday, and we for the first time started working through and actually translating simple sentences as a class, which is always super fun because when people are learning a new language and they start to actually see things fit together, it's fun. It's fun, guys. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I call
But
those light
I'm
bulb
sure
moments.
less fun in Romulan. But
I don't know. I've never learned Romulan. Maybe,
How would we know? There's not like a comprehensive dictionary out there yet.
Romulan might suck, right? That's a possibility. It might just be a terrible Conlang. I don't know. I don't get to know.
Do we know what it's based on?
I mean, it's an a priori.
Do we know anything about it?
Yes, we know who made it. We know that Mark Okrand, who's most famous for making Klingon, also did some work on Vulcan, and that was incorporated into the background for historical linguistics purposes. That's about it. That's what we also could probably we know a few phrases. Like we know Jolan True is kind of departing phrase.
Imperious
It's like
Rex.
a goodbye. We can get some idea of syllable structure and phonemic inventory, but that's just by listening to Romulan dialogue from Star Trek Picard. So.
Right.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for 199 says stichogenic radiation-induced mutations. Yes, that is in fact how you can get your stripy livestock. All right, Ashanti, now that we've been going for 20 minutes, why don't you start us off with...
Whose fault is that?
I mean, it's the chats. They're the ones sending us all these wonderful super chats.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't think it was my fault at all.
And hey, if they want even more of this, they should just gift some memberships, because every gifted membership, you just keep going.
And it also gets us closer to unlocking that new emoji slot.
Yes,
and
I want new emoji.
Bringing in that Darwin deal with it emoji that I made.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool, and I would love for you guys to see it, but we can't unless we get a new emoji. But anyway, Ashanti, would you care to take it away for us?
All right. Consider also how mutations can affect age with an extreme example. Imagine waking up every morning. Unfortunately, I don't have to imagine. It's a reality.
Right. Already bad.
Sad. Having aged 5 days while you slept. I feel like I'm aging 5 days every sentence. In about 13 years, you would come to the end of your life. There is a children's disease with similar effects called Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome.
Hey, I screwed up the counter, so we're going to take a drink for Dapper's Professional. And also, Metageeky Platypus Warlock for $2 says, Romulan is just pig Vulcan. That would be amazing.
How dare you?
Sorry.
Wow, I think
HTTPS,
YouTube
commonly called...
just totally crashed.
Sorry.
But, yeah, I know.
Progeria.
It does that quite a bit more now than it used to.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Josh.
it does. Progeria causes premature aging in children, affecting only about 1 in 6 million children. It causes skin to age, heads to go bald at a very early age, pre-kindergarten, bones to develop problems usually associated with the elderly, and growth to be stunted, about half to 2/3 of normal height for their age. Body parts, including organs, age rapidly, causing death at the average age of 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
The single point mutation in the DNA causes progeria. Just one flaw. This defect is a sobering reminder about the importance of the amazing ability of human DNA, the human DNA strain, to reproduce itself virtually error-free. Our DNA has a total of 3 billion base pairs, or letters, designed by God to build an entire human body.
Okay, hold up.
Maybe he would possibly build it in a way such that a remix couldn't cause hyperaging, but whatever.
I'm going to take a quick drink here. It is not letters. let's just say that I owned a car dealership, right?
Mm.
And I wanted
Could
to
it be letters?
Well, I'm going to go through an example, right? And let's say I have a map of the dealership lot that tells me where different cars are supposed to be, right? And I sell 8 different makes of car, right? And each make of car starts with a different letter. So on my map, I write down just the letter of the make of the car in the spot where it's supposed to go. And that's how I keep track of where my inventory is supposed to be at the end of the day. Okay. And I have 100 lots, or 100 spots for cars, and each one is full, we'll say, at the end of the day. Would it be reasonable to say, to characterize my car dealership as having 100 letters? No, that doesn't mean anything. I am personally recording 100 letters in spots on a map for my own use. When we talk about DNA base pairs and we write them down using letters, that's for the convenience of humans. That is not a letter. It is not linguistic information. It's a molecule. There are 4 varieties of molecules that can come in the DNA strand, and for the convenience of humans, we assign each one the first letter of the name of the molecule, which itself is still not the molecule. It is a physical thing that exists physically inside of cells as a thing that you can touch. You can go yourself, separate DNA, and you can touch it with your fingers if you want to. Get a strawberry, some water, some soap, and a blender. That's basically all you need. You too can find DNA. It's gray and kind of stringy. There you go. You can hold it in your hand. It is a physical thing. Every time someone says...
it was smaller than that.
Well, you're getting... If you do the technique where you separate out the DNA from a strawberry, you're getting the DNA from millions and millions of cells together.
Oh, okay.
So basically, you're just chemically separating it out from the rest of the strawberry so that the DNA from the entire strawberry kind of floats to the top, and then you can grab DNA from all the millions and millions of cells as one big pile of goop. So, yeah, the DNA from one cell is going to be a very, very tiny volume, but you can separate it out and get a big mass of it. Anyway, and this is a thing that creationists love to do to basically just mislead people. Is they will talk about how it's linguistic data and it requires a knowledge of language and computer code. No, it doesn't. It's just a molecule. It interacts with other molecules, and it can be shaped by forces like mutation, natural selection, sexual selection, genetic drift, and all these things. Calling them letters is intentionally misleading. Tiktaalik episode 3, Revenge of the Fish for 200 Argentinian pesos says, I don't even know what this one is. Chilean. I don't know how to say that, but I'm going to go with AIJ Weones Weon Po. I have no idea if that's accurate. And then Lieutenant Math the Navigator for 499 says, distinguish the map from the terrain. Young Earth creationist challenge level impossible. Yeah, basically. When you hold a map in your hands, you're not holding the actual terrain. The actual terrain in the real world is not composed of lines of elevation and compass roses and little dots with labels on them.
That's boy, it's kind of I'm wondering that's kind of interesting, and maybe young Earth creationists will actually love my new book, because the 4th chapter, the title of the 4th chapter is actually The Map is the Place. So maybe
they will. Demon Trigger for $5 says, Bodie series X-Men of the Iron Age is weak sauce.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, Shanti, go ahead.
All right. Our DNA is a total of 3 billion base pairs or letters designed by God to build an entire human body. The DNA contains genes, which in turn are made up of an almost infinitely varied sequence of 4 molecules: cytosine, thymine, guanine, and adenine. Genes code for particular proteins such as keratin, which comprises hair, or the amylase enzyme in saliva that digests starch. A typical gene has a total 1,000 or more of the 4 letters C, T, G, and A.
All right, so within the caveats that I already gave...
Relatedly,
okay.
Gattaca is an awesome movie.
Yes. within the caveats that I gave, Bodie is
I
basically
did like
correct.
Gattaca.
It kind of flopped hard though, didn't it? I'll take a drink.
Yeah.
Fancy language aside, Bodie, you haven't used any fancy language.
What is he talking
I
about?
don't. You know what, Bodie,
Like-
Bodie is incomprehensible in terms of what he thinks his audience is.
Maybe it's the amylase enzyme in saliva. Very fancy.
Yes. Oh, here's a fun thing about amylase. So amylase is a pretty common enzyme across, like animals, because lots of animals end up having starch in their diet. But
Right.
dogs have several more amylase genes than wolves do that are active in various parts of their body where wolves normally don't have any amylase genes expressed. And this is specifically an adaptation to eating human food because humans, on average, eat way more starch than wolves do.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
So that's why dog food can keep a dog healthy while having a much higher starch content than anything you could feed to like a cat or a wolf and keep them healthy. There we go.
I'm going to think about that when I'm feeding my dogs this afternoon.
I hope so.
Do you think is there do you think there's much starch in raw food?
I mean, it depends on what the raw food is.
I guess it is, yeah. And I've never actually looked that closely. Interesting.
I mean,
Yeah,
Anyways.
that's one of those things, man. Like, some animals simply do not have the tools to digest
Mhm.
some of these foods that humans do, and so they're obligate carnivores, and that's that's just how they need to eat. 'Cause
Also,
if they don't,
Yeah.
they will die.
dogs have extra facial muscles, which allow them to make more facial expressions, specifically because that's one of the primary
right.
ways they communicate with humans. Other canids don't have those facial muscles. They're completely brand
This
new
is-
for dogs.
This is
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that continues to blow my mind when it comes to evolution, in particular with regards to dogs and how much domestication or social interaction has affected their own biological development. Like the
Mhm.
fact that dogs are cute is,
Because we
I've
like
been
them
told.
and wanted them
Yeah.
to hang around more when they're cute.
Yes, I've been
Mhm.
told
Yeah.
that is an adaptation
Yeah.
to
It
living
is.
with humans. I'm
is.
like, brilliant, well done, dogs.
They did it without
Like-
even trying.
Right?
Yep.
And like, part of that is because it's beneficial to them, and like for us,
Yes.
it's just cute. Like,
Yeah.
it's
right.
good for them that we think they're cute. So
I mean, to be
that
fair,
became
for
an
most of
incentivizing thing.
For most of human history, dogs were also very useful companions, so it's not like it wasn't good for
Yeah.
humans either.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, to this day, the dogs here at this house are chasing away at least several murderers a day, as far as they're concerned. So,
Yes.
all right, let's
You
keep
know,
going.
I don't know if
think-
you've
I
seen
think
that post
mine
that's,
tries, but most of the time it's just people who also happen to live in this house. So keep trying, Dagon. You'll get it
Yeah,
right one of these
First
days.
of all, I love that, as Alex Markel says, cats did it without changing their biology. Yeah, cats pretty much domesticated themselves twice,
Mhm.
and mostly
That's
because
just
it was
so like a
beneficial
cat,
to them.
right?
It is like a
Yeah.
cat. I mean,
I'm here now, bitch.
it's like, hey, I see you have a rodent problem in your grain stores. Maybe somebody should handle that.
I'll just eat the rodents
It's
when I'm
just
done,
like,
thank
hey.
you. I'll get a couple super chats here. Meat Permits Tat for $5 says, that's because the dog kind only ate rice before the fall.
No.
Wolf kind is different from dog kind. Source because I said so. Mothra. We'll take a drink from Mothra. Oh, man. By the way, I am drinking a hard Arnold Palmer, although it's called half and half because apparently you can't just market things with the name of some guy because his estate might come after you.
Man, I think we should make a hard drink called the Laura Palmer.
I feel like someone's estate might come after us for that. It just won't be Laura Palmer's. But what would be in a Laura Palmer? Because
Look, Mark Frost is still alive. We can just ask him.
well, yeah, that's fair. But here's the question, though, right? So I feel like an Arnold Palmer, right? It's half hard iced tea and half lemonade. Laura Palmer has to have one of those in it, but what's the other half, and what's the half that we keep from the iced tea lemonade?
I think the part that Laura Palmer would need to have in it is just Coke.
Okay, I don't think we
Like,
could actually
As
market
in
that.
cocaine.
No, I know what you meant. I know who Laura Palmer was. I get it.
Hashtag Firewalk with me.
Right. Yeah, she does a whole bunch of all sorts of that stuff.
So much drugs in that movie.
How about just in order to make it legal, we say it's half
Okay.
Coca-Cola and lemonade. So it's half Coke and half lemonade.
Yeah.
But it's Coca-Cola.
It's lemonade. It's a little cursed.
Yeah. I mean, so is
work
Laura
around it.
Palmer.
We'll figure something out. Just
Laura
give
Palmer
me
was
a
also
few
cursed. It
hours to
works.
workshop this. All right.
I say that we just say the Laura Palmer is half Coke, half lemonade, and then we just dump in a bunch of vodka. That's my
Give
vote.
me a little while. I'll
Okay.
workshop this by the end of the stream. It's fine.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for 499
Anyway.
says, "What are the chances that Bodie thinks Branson is a center of high culture?" High. The chances are high. Not to knock Branson or anything, but yeah, the chances of that he thinks that are pretty high. So, and now that we are at a quarter of the way in, I just want to remind everyone that first we have 93 people viewing, but only 31 people have hit like, which means that unfortunately I have to say that I like less than half of you, half as well as you deserve. So hit that like button, lest you get Bilbo'd again. And further, remember, every single membership that we gain, we are going to be streaming for an extra minute. So, if you're not currently a member and you want to be, it starts at only $1. And if you want to give some memberships, that is a quick way to increase the length of the stream, as well as increase how much of this Arnold Palmer I'm drinking, not Laura Palmer.
Not a Laura Palmer.
No.
The
What-
drink comes wrapped in plastic.
We should also make like a Sarah Palmer, which is just like
Cigarettes and
Si-
whiskey.
and blood.
Yeah.
Cigarettes, whiskey, and blood. That's all that's in there.
If you have enough of a Sarah Palmer, you can take your face off.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah, Jillian Wren is saying that they have the secret diary around here somewhere. I also have it. I read that book when I was way too young. So maybe that explains some things.
Well,
Okay, before we get back into reading, I was
Okay.
gonna say there's a meme that comes across my dashboard every so often that's like, no matter how big you think a wolf is, it's bigger. And if you know, you know.
I mean, they are bigger than you think they are. That is true.
Hmm.
If you've seen a wolf in real life, you're like, oh, that is definitely bigger than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Coyotes though are actually a little bit smaller than I thought they were.
They actually are, but they have very floofy
Yeah.
tails and it's adorable.
Well, they're bigger
They're
out
so
east though.
They're just little balls of anxiety, bless them.
Well, not out east. Out east, they're bigger and they're less anxiety-ridden and less scared of humans, but no less prone to bite if cornered.
They
I mean, a lot of
coyotes,
things bite when
though,
cornered.
and I expect it's because they're tiny. They sound like your nightmares, though.
They
They
can.
really do. They
Do they?
really do. Oh yeah,
You know, but-
yeah. When you get out in the when you get out in the prairies, and they're cackling and howling to entice your poor dogs to come outside and play.
Which is not what they're doing, by the way.
Seriously, it's like it's probably not.
They would
But
much sooner
it's
eat your
it's
dog than
chilling.
play with your dog most of the time.
It's bone chilling.
All right, but let's finally get on with this next sentence.
Okay. Fancy language aside.
Oh my goodness, what just happened?
What the?
Oh, okay.
Wow, it literally went aside.
It's not.
Thanks.
It's not just my computer.
I'll take a drink on that one.
Thanks.
Apparently,
Fancy language aside, according to the head of the National Human Genome Research Institute.
USA.
Yeah, not the
USA,
one from any
USA.
other country.
A single misplaced letter on the gene, which is known as lamina or lamina, causes progeria. A letter T has replaced a C. In other words, the substitution of one thymine with one cytosine in one specific gene results in a horrible disease that prematurely ages children. The single mistake indicates how finely tuned the DNA really is.
No, it doesn't.
That's not what that indicates.
Nah.
No. Okay, so here's the thing, right? There are, like you said, 3 billion or so base pairs in the human genome. You know why he's picking on progeria? Because it's one of a very small number of diseases that can be caused this way. That's why. It's actually not very common. The thing is, humans are what's called mutation saturated, right? That means that there are enough humans reproducing enough new humans that every single substitution that can happen in the human genome already exists in someone alive right now. Period. Every single possible single nucleotide mutation is out there. And it's out there every single generation. Every single generation, someone is at least conceived with one of these. Now, we don't see some of them because they result in, the zygote terminating before it gets to the point where, like, you're even aware that there's a pregnancy. Or sometimes it gets to the point where, like, you're aware there's a pregnancy, but it's going to end in a miscarriage because of one of these. Those no one talks about because, while, well, first, if you don't even know that you're pregnant and then there's a miscarriage at, 8 cells, you're not even going to know that even happened, right? You're never going to be aware of it. So no one ever talks about those, really. If it gets to the point where, like, you're aware of the pregnancy and there's a miscarriage, chances are you're never going to actually find out the reason for that miscarriage. So we also tend not to talk about those mutations all that much because, again, it's hard to even detect them. But of the ones that actually manage to come to full term, result in a living, now no longer physically attached to its mother baby that you can, take care of as a separate entity, that you can check for diseases or whatever, that you can reasonably do a genome sequence on. The fact that there are so few of these diseases is specifically because the DNA is actually very robust. Further, in all genes, a full 1/3 of nucleotides can vary completely with no change because they don't even affect which amino acid they code for. So amino acid is coded for by a series of 3 base pairs, and that's called a codon. But one of those spots in every codon doesn't actually matter, and that particular base pair can change to literally anything, and it won't affect the amino acid at all, nor will it.
Weird.
It is. It kind of seems like the kind of thing that you might not design if you were, like, making the perfect code where you're just like, what if a third of it was meaningless?
We'll figure it out one day.
Oh, right.
Dapper.
Right.
One day, it'll make all the difference.
Yes, of course. We just have to wait. God's infinite wisdom will prove that was actually the only way it could possibly be done, and also still lead us to the best possible world. I've lost my train of thought. Oh, so anyway, there's that. But also,
that's why I'm here.
We can identify other mutations that are beneficial. We can identify mutations that increase muscle density, that decrease the risk of heart disease, that make humans immune to infection by the HIV or other viruses, that increase the strength of bones that make them more or less indestructible. These are mutations that people are known to have right now. I sure would like to be immune to heart disease. That sounds nice. Yeah. One of the leading killers in the world. Sure. I mean, it would just mean I would die of cancer most likely, because it's going to be one of those two things almost certainly. But, like, still, it'd be nice to cross one of them off the list. So
listen, inside my body is like a March Madness bracket of which of the various things are going to try to kill me first. And, like, on this bracket, it's like microplastics, heart disease, cancer, and you just, like, fill in the blanks. Mm-hmm. And as you get older, one wins and advances to the next round.
Renee, Heat Problem Reborn, who's been a member for 60 months since at the annual level, says Eastern coyotes are bigger because they're starting to take over the apex predator niche. That is part of it. It's also partly because they have significant wolf and domesticated dog admixture in their genomes. Eastern coyotes are, like, only about 80% coyote. The rest is a mix of wolf and domesticated dog. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $4.99 says, maybe Bodie has reverse intellectual progeria. He certainly writes at a middle school level. Maybe that does explain it. Yeah.
I like that.
And hey, actually, currently,
there is some discussion about foxes starting to try to domesticate because their, wildlife habitats are being threatened, and there's all these other things going on, and there's increasing numbers of foxes that are becoming friendly with humans, and kind of adapting more domesticated dog-like traits, and I'm just like, good, because foxes are awesome. It's cat software on dog hardware. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Plus, if
That's
you're
true.
willing to get a fox shipped to you from Russia, you can already get a domesticated fox.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's
I just love that you can give them belly rubs and they go,
By
It's
the way,
very cute.
we are actually roughly on pace that we could actually get a fancy avatar if we stay on this pace. And also, remember, you could make us go for an extra 2 hours. Currently, we're going to be going for an extra 11 minutes as it stands right now. All right.
I would like
It feels
to
manageable.
I would like to suggest that one of the options for fancy avatar is the Dormammu Dapper, Dark Dimension Dapper dinosaur.
I'll tell you what. On today, I will guarantee that if we can get the fancy avatar, one of the options in the poll will be Dormammu Dapper, is where I look like Dormammu from the
Dark
MCU.
Dimension Dormammu Dapper.
Yes. Yep. I even
Dapper
have the
Dormammu.
weird like lines that go back across my body for some reason.
The rippling.
Yeah, the
is
rippling.
so cool.
It's there. All right. So where were we?
Well, we weren't about to
Um,
talk about how the rippling stands in for the fire, like the flames licking across Dormammu's head, because technically his head's on fire, but that's fine. It still looks really cool.
It does. But Carrie Bronson for $5 says
reading about-
domesticated is a relative term. Those foxes are like having a chihuahua on Adderall.
Yes, but it's also cute, and I think they're realizing that cuteness is an advantage when they want to survive.
Yeah.
So I'm here for the eventual fox uprising for domestication.
Wait,
Okay.
maybe the next RPG I should play is Pugmire, where everyone plays a dog in a post-apocalyptic world, and the driving motto behind all of Dog Society is be a good dog, because that's the last message humans left them with before they died.
Yeah.
Oh, be a good boy. Ah, my heart. Okay. Spoiler alert, all dogs are good, except for the cop ones.
Yeah, but they were that
Okay.
they got that way because their humans abused them into being that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
I'm-
what?
Was some.
That's another reason that I'm team cat, because cats aren't snitches.
It's true.
You can't train cats to do that. They'll just look at you like you're an idiot.
Which, if you're trying to train a
So-
cat to snitch, you are.
Yes.
Listen, I just have to say it. Because I live in a house filled with dogs that are in training for helping people, mostly people with or entirely people with disabilities. But some of these dogs, a small number, actually do end up becoming police dogs,
Damn.
but not the bitey kind. They're the kind that go and sit with victims and
That's a good kind.
help them. Yeah.
I'll also
So there's-
say
listen,
cadaver
there's-
dogs are also a good
there's
kind of
some-
cop dog. That's fine. I'm okay with
Yeah.
cadaver dogs.
There's
yeah,
some good
but
ones
also
out
those
there.
are Canadian cop dogs, which are a lot less prone to just shooting first and never asking questions. So
Our dogs never shoot. So shoo.
Unlike the American dogs, which are very trigger happy.
and yeah, we're building robots that look like dogs that can shoot you because we couldn't get enough
correct.
dogs to do that on their own. Good job, US.
Because dogs know, right? Dogs are they are not. Yeah. Okay.
Dogs are naturally anti-cop. Just ask El Negro Matapacos in Chile, the most famous right dog of all time. Next to the Greek right dog, what's their name? It's escaping me at the moment. Someone on the chat will know. But yeah, right dogs are awesome. Okay, our new understanding of progeria lends major support to the belief that there is a
What
genetic
new
link
understanding?
to aging.
Okay, whatever.
You don't say a genetic link to aging. You don't say.
Yeah.
Maybe we found that out in the 90s. Does he know what telomeres are?
No, probably not.
Anyway, early patriarchs in the Bible lived well beyond what would be considered normal today. Many of them lived over 900 years. Then in the years following Noah, the ages gradually fell. I wouldn't say gradually. If one genetic mismatch can cut life short by a factor of 5 to 10 times, wouldn't you just say short by a factor of 5 to 10? Because 5 to 10 times is redundant.
Yes, it is redundant.
Mhm.
It's Bodie
Mhm.
Hodge. Then could another defective gene be the culprit that shortened our average age from 900 years to the present 80 years or so, a factor of 11 times? Again, you could just say factor of 11. It's redundant.
Yeah, so here's
I'm
the
gonna
thing.
no.
The answer is yes, but, right? Yes, that could be, but also anything could be, Bodie. If you want to suggest that this is the actual explanation, you need to actually have a reason behind it beyond it would be convenient for me. For one thing, other than the Bible, we don't actually have a reason to think that any of these ages are accurate. We just don't. You have to assume the historical accuracy of the Bible in order for this to become a question worth answering in the first place. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't even think the authors intended you for you to take these ages as literal historical ages.
I think not. I think not.
Yeah. Now, can I guarantee that? No, because I don't have the authors here to ask. But
Look, Nikos.
But by the way,
right, dog.
One, I was surprised to learn this in the last couple months, but this triggered my memory. One, Amon Hillman is of the belief that with the right chemical regimen, we can live to be 250 years old.
Well, good luck to him.
That's a thing. That's a thing. A thing that a guy with an actual chemistry degree has suggested.
Okay,
so,
but it's a guy with an actual chemistry degree who, as far as I can tell, is always on a large dose of a large number of drugs.
Of chemicals? Yeah. It seems that way, doesn't it?
I think that that's more of the drug addledness. And in fact, look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again right now, and I'll probably say it again later. If you make up things about a text, that says all about that. Everything that it says is about you. It says nothing about the text. And Amon Hillman, among many other things,
how about that,
has made up extensive drug use in the New Testament because I think, and this is a statement of my opinion, I do not have conclusive evidence of, but I think personally, it is my opinion that he has not been off of recreational drugs for a single day in his adult life. That's my opinion.
Could be.
Do I know that? Absolutely not. It's a statement of fact? No, it's not. If you think it is, you should contact my lawyer. Sapphire Light, formerly known as Fade to Grey, has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, not only causing us to drink 5 times, but also bringing our extra time at the end of this all the way up to past a quarter of an hour. So here's 5 drinks. Thank you. 1.
I'm going to be very hungry.
I will keep reading while you take the drinks and do the counter thing. Okay. This terrible disease, which causes children to suffer and drastically shortens their lifespans, reminds us of the curse that we all struggle with in today's world. The curse of death and decay because of mankind's sin. Progeria, an obvious result of the curse, might also shed light on understanding the long lives of patriarchs. With these bottlenecks and mutational problems expounding...
What?
I don't think that those can expound.
No, they can't. Expounding is something a person does.
That's... Wow, this is a new level of illiteracy. Okay.
I don't even know what word he's trying to go for.
He may have meant expanding.
But even that doesn't seem to work.
Then again, that doesn't work.
Okay,
anyway,
Bodie. Jeez.
Good job trying to just hashtag thesaurus your way through making this sound better, but it made it worse. A host of alleles would have been filtered out and lost. For example, immune systems may not be as good, resulting in more infectious disease. But these are the types of factors that are likely the prime culprit in reduction of age. Bodie. That entire paragraph has no citations, references no scientific works, and is just random speculation and assertion.
So, here's a problem that I have with this that's not scientific. It's just, like, social, right? So it has been a long-standing belief among many different groups of people, right, that things like physical diseases and even mental disorders and whatnot were supernatural punishments for wrongdoing from the gods or whatever other supernatural entities that culture believes, right? It has been a long thing. It has caused huge amounts of additional unnecessary suffering for people who are already suffering from various conditions. And it is an overall bad thing to believe, because acting on that belief only increases the amount of suffering. You want to hear something horrific? Look at what happened during the time when people thought that, oh, now I can't remember. What's the thing where fairies replace your kid?
Where fairies replace your kid?
Yeah. Changelings. Changelings.
That's it, yes.
When people believed in changelings, any weird change in development, like, oh, I don't know, maybe the onset of autism symptom, were blamed on the child actually really being a changeling, an evil fairy creature that's replaced your actual real kid. And you might be able to get the fairies to give your kid back if you torture the changeling enough. You know what that is? That's just torturing your kid because they developed symptoms of a not even a mental disorder, just a neuroatypical condition. These kinds of beliefs cause untold suffering. And one of the nice things that I can say about the New Testament is that there's a story where there's a man who's blind, and Jesus is asked whether he's been blinded because of his own sin or his parents' sin. And Jesus says neither. Christians, including Bodie, you could take that as a general idea that maybe you shouldn't blame diseases on supernatural causes, which then only causes more suffering. Bodie has instead decided, nope, progeria is indeed a result of the spiritual contamination of sin. Stop it.
It's kind of the astonishing thing, right? Like, I continue to say this about like simple shit, right? Like in a belief in an historical conquest of Canaan. You don't have to believe this stuff. You don't. There's a lot of simple things in the biblical text that you can just say, yeah, that's bullshit. That didn't happen. That's a fiction. And you can still love Jesus just as much as you did before that. Like,
point out, a lot of Christians do manage that, actually. A lot of them.
Right? Most, I would say.
I mean, I don't know about the conquest of Canaan. I have better data on evolution, but like, yeah, it's probably a good, a high portion. Yeah.
So, and but reading this train wreck of a paragraph too, just, I mean, it kind of reminded me, the more time I spend in this space, I'm coming to more clearly see that it seems to be of great benefit to budding Christian apologists who want to make a successful career of this. Seems to be of great benefit for them to not understand how languages work.
Yes, it does seem that way.
Like, honestly, it's one of those things that is in the intersection of the Venn diagram for all of them. Like, it's Christian apologist, suck at language. Like, it seems to be a prerequisite at this point. I'm wondering now if in Biola's program on Christian apologetics, they may have a course called failing at English, because it's just ubiquitous at this point. I'm going to turn
Prosetnik Vogon Jelts for 42 secs says Bodhi's book is poetry to my ears, which, you know what, for a Vogon, that makes sense. This does actually seem like Vogon poetry. You know that reference. So here's a question about that I don't actually know because I don't pay enough attention to any of this stuff. But James White is a Christian apologist whose whole shtick seems to be saying that he's good at the languages. Is he good at the languages?
No.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I mean, he's not good enough at the languages that he gets put in his place by amateurs on a pretty regular basis, from what I've observed. So, and yeah.
Because I mean, look, I don't know a lot about any Christian apologist.
I think he might be self-taught, actually.
Well,
but
I'm assuming that when he was getting his unaccredited degree, that some of that course
is fake degree.
I'm gonna say unaccredited,
maybe.
Because look, I did actually look at like what his coursework was, and there was a lot of reading of a lot of technical, like high-level literature. Now, was it a actual representative swath of biblical scholarship? No, it was heavily focused on believing and relatively conservative scholarship. But that being said, a lot of it was technical, and there was a lot of grammar and language stuff that when I decided to look at what he thought was such an important thing that he didn't need it to be accredited, but he wanted it anyway. Because to be fair to him, he is on record as saying, yeah, it's not an accredited degree, and I thought that being able to design my own coursework would be important. And
he has said that.
My position is this. If you want to get an unaccredited degree, because you think that you'll be edified by doing so, great. If you do that, though, you don't get to call yourself by any new titles, or pretend that you have an actual degree at that level. So my problem with him getting that degree is calling himself Dr. James White. If he didn't call himself Dr. James White and just did that coursework anyway, then I'd say, okay, fine. You did a directed self-study program for several years, and then had some people say that, yeah, you did do this. That's not a bad thing in my view.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you pretend that it's something else. Now, it's also more than Kent Hovind did. Because we all know what Ken Hovin's coursework was.
It's definitely more than Ken Hovind did. Yes, yeah. That's true.
So
there's layers. This is a spectrum.
Yeah, there's a spectrum of fake doctorhood.
Respects. Yeah.
There are fake doctors who actually did do some work. There are other fake doctors who definitely did not.
And I gotta say, I actually feel bad. Not for all of them, but not for James White. But I actually feel bad for some fake doctors. Given the fact that they work their asses off.
Well, hey,
literally for nothing, right?
Here's one thing. If you actually did work your ass off and got a fake degree, you probably can roll a lot of that experience into having an easier time getting a real degree in the same subject.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah. And it's just, for a lot of people, it's a matter of money and time too at that point, right?
There's also a big difference between James White and Trump University grads. Trump University grads were misled into thinking that this was an actual valuable education.
Yes.
James White knew what he was doing. He didn't go into this under any illusions. He's not that dumb. Kent Hovind also, I think, knew what he was doing. And he just wanted the clout of being able to put doctor in front of his name.
That's it, right? He just that's my impression, is that he just went, what's the path of least resistance to getting letters behind my name.
Yep.
Feels like that's what James White is actually, he said he's actually getting an actual accredited degree.
I've heard that too, but I also heard it 5 or 6 years ago, so I don't know what the deal is with that. But last I heard, he was pursuing... And here's the other thing, right? If you're doing a part-time PhD by correspondence, that could take a long time. So
it would take a while.
I will say, several years ago, I heard something from him about getting a degree from an accredited a university in South Africa via correspondence. Which, hey, good on him if he does.
So I feel like now I have to say something about
Are we about to dunk on South Africa?
Because this is this is something that you see. It's of no surprise to me, actually, that this is the route James White has taken, because here's you can get and this is the same thing, like Mike Lacona's PhD is from a South African, it's a distance degree from a South African university. Joel Edmund Anderson's PhD is a distance degree from a South African university. And I mean, to be fair, there are legitimate scholars who do legitimate work and who graduate from these programs in earnest. But then you also get situations where they seem happy. Some of these schools seem happy just to give degrees to people who will, for example, write a complete dissertation on the book of Isaiah without citing a single article or source in non-English speaking scholarship. It's so all that to say, I don't mean to cast shade on, legitimate scholarship that takes place in South African universities, but I've seen so many situations where this is just part of the spectrum.
Actually, that raises a question for me, because we're going to read a couple super chats, go on break, but I do want a quick question answered. So, it's often the case that in certain areas of scholarship, there are one or two languages that dominate the publications in that area, right? And say, in paleontology, the first language is English. English is probably going to be your most important language. But by far, the second most important language to learn if you want to really dig into paleontology literature, German.
Yeah.
What is it for your area that is the second language that is the most important? If it's not English first. I assume it is English first. Is that probably that
yeah.
Okay.
It's at the point now where it's English first. In the 1970s and the 80s, it was still German first, right? So that's shifted. So now it's like German number 2, French number 3. French was higher for me because there's an awful lot of literature, Dead Sea Scrolls literature written in French, and the reason for that is because the first people who were actually reading and studying and publishing these texts were at the French Dominican School of Archaeology in East Jerusalem. So, yeah.
All right, so we have 3 things to read here. Let me just make sure I update this counter, which I was about to get wrong. Okay, so Lieutenant Math Navigator for $4.99 says, the only assignment in Hoven's degree program was a check writing exercise. Yeah, that's true. If you fail at writing a check, they don't give you your degree. Which, by the way, in case you guys don't know, normally a PhD program pays the student. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. But normally that's the way the money flows. It's from the university to the PhD student. Because normally, part of getting a PhD includes doing work for the university, including things like teaching courses, proctoring exams, grading papers, that kind of thing.
Writing papers.
Yeah, writing papers.
Yeah. PhD
Doing
supervisor, but we don't talk about
research and work
about that.
Yeah, my unfinished
such that you would be prevented mostly from working non-academic jobs during that time. So they got to help you out.
My unfinished journey for 222 says, Hail Nero, Hail Daps, Dr. Kill, Vish, and Real Learning. Thank you very much. And for $5, Gesture says, are you saying that I am Kent Hovind lacks scientific value? I'm absolutely shocked with Ghidorah. The shock, the awe, the shenanigans. So we will take a drink for that. And
3 Ghidorahs, that's 9 heads.
It is. So I'll say this. The first sentence of your dissertation or thesis is probably not going to have that much scientific value, to be fair. But also, you should not start it with, hello, my name is, name of the author. That's what the cover page is for, because that'll already have your name on it.
It will. Yeah. Yes.
You don't need a further, hello, my name is. That's not how you start. You should start with a thesis statement. What are you about to argue for? And give me some history as to why this is something that needs to be argued about in the first place. Then you can dive into your first argument. That's how you start out a paper. Tell me what the point of the paper is, why you think it's important that that paper be written, and let's go.
Yeah. I think I found a thing that everybody missed.
Yep. My unfinished sock for $2 says, don't get a fake degree, like and share instead. Look, I'm not going to tell you not to get a fake degree. I'm just going to say, if you do, don't pretend that's not what it is. All right, but we're going to take.
I've actually given out a fake degree.
I did too.
So
Bent has a degree from Dinosaur College. Yeah.
Oh.
And I have a degree in dinosaurs from Bent Hovind University.
Well, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
Josh and I gave a degree to Dr. DJ Ozzy in biblical studies, but the dissertation was embargoed.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
Permanently. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to get another can of half and half. And remember, while we're gone, I will still be getting super chats and reading them. And also, if you gift memberships, stick around even longer, because right now we are at 16
minutes.
All right, so we will be back in just a few minutes. And we are back. Thank you very much. So now that we're back, I want to say, hey, as you probably know, this show is almost entirely supported directly through the support of viewers, whether it be through Patreon, through joining the channel, buying some merch, super chats, super thanks. So if you are enjoying the channel, if you like what I do here, if you want to make it so that I can keep doing it while also not starving or becoming homeless, feel free to check any of those things out. My Patreon is linked in the description. You can join the channel with the button right below this video. Additionally, I have both Kip and Vish linked in the description. Go check out their channels. They both have Patreons. Vish also has a wish list. I also have a wish list. Bent also has a Patreon and a wish list linked in the description. So all of those are great. The Patreon is where I get to keep the most. Then it's all the YouTube stuff. You don't get to keep that much of the merch stuff, but that's because I want to keep the prices relatively low so that people can actually afford the stuff. Because I'd rather that you guys actually be able to get the cool merch than me make bank off of every single one purchase. So that's why I don't make all that much on the merch, but I do appreciate it. And also, when it comes to Amazon wishlist, that is there mostly so that when I get something, happy brain chemicals go in my brain for a while. Same thing for Vish. That's but there is also some practical stuff. Like, how am I going to make smash burgers if I don't have that burger smasher thing from my wish list?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Am I going to do it by hand? Also, that reminds me. I would like to give some shout outs in no particular order to Timothy and Dapper's chat and Joshua Geese. And I think that's the ones that I have saved right over here on my desktop. People that have generously given me things off of my wish list. And I'm sure that's not all the people represented, but thank you. I did want to send my gratitude last week, but I was dealing with migraine. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's my turn now. So you'll have to deal with my horrible speaking voice.
One quick second.
Okay.
I do want to get a little bit hippy dippy. It actually does mean a lot to me when I go to check the mail and I open my front door and I see boxes or little packets of stuff. It gives me little happy chemicals in my brain, and it tangibly improves my day, and it makes me feel like people like me, and that's nice. So
it is.
Thank you all for doing that. It's very nice and it's appreciated.
All right, here we go. Shem, an intriguing clue. Another interesting clue comes from Shem. The bottleneck at the flood would not have affected Noah, as his genetics were not bound by that event. He lived 350 years after the flood and died at 950 years old. Ham and Japheth's ages are not recorded in Scripture, but Shem was 600 years old when he died. Either of the above bottlenecks, the flood or the tower, would not have affected Shem's longevity, which, by the way, again, the tower is not a bottleneck. It would be a series of founder events, but Bodie doesn't know the difference between a bottleneck and founder effects. But, hey, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator just gifted 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So we are up to 21 minutes, everybody. So here's 5 more drinks. 1, 2.
I can do that math.
3, 4, and 5. And yet, Shem's age was significantly reduced from his father's. Yeah? The Bible does not record the cause of death, so it... I'm sorry, I'm just like... The degree tweet is she's like...
How often does the Bible record the cause of death?
Pretty much only when it's violent. Only when it's violent.
Or funny.
Yeah. Or
both.
It'll talk about Saul getting caught by his entrails or some crap like that.
Yeah, and they stabbed this guy and he was so fat that the sword got swallowed up. Come on, y'all.
Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it's and he slept with his fathers, which just means he, didn't meet a gruesome, untimely end.
Yeah, he died of what we would call natural causes at an old age.
Yes.
Natural causes.
Yes.
Yeah. However, it seems likely that he died of old age, which, to be fair, is basically what we just said. So Bodie is basically right about that. That is probably the intention of the authors, is for you to imagine him just dying as an old man, like old men die.
All right.
So,
fine. At the ripe old age of 600.
Right. This is a clue that there may have been a genetic problem that passed through Noah to Shem. And perhaps Ham and Japheth too, to trigger a drop in the ancients. Okay. Lamech, Noah's father, only lived to 777.
Only 777.
In the reality of his day, he was a young pup. No, that would be like dying at 50. No one's going to call someone who dies at 50 a young pup. It's unusually young to die, but it's not like you're a baby. But okay. Methuselah, or Methuselah, as I've been apparently like chastised for not saying in English, even though I'm speaking English. Lamech's father lived nearly 200 years longer than Lamech. Yeah, therefore it is possible that there was a genetic mistake. Oh, I just did it. Kip, you've been good this entire time, and then I dropped the single F-bomb that we get.
Oh.
Do it.
Wow.
Anyway.
I can do it.
Genetic mistake hidden within Lamech that occurred between Methuselah and his son Lamech. Okay, I mean... Sure, but what do I even say to this? If this defective gene had been passed to Noah from Lamech, and yet was masked by a good gene from Noah's mother... Okay... It may not have affected him, and hence he still lived to the ripe old age of 950 years.
I don't know anything about how real shit works, but is this how genes work?
Okay, well first let's take 5 drinks for Joshua Geese just gifting 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships, and then we'll talk about, is this how genes work? So. Okay, there's 5 drinks. Thank you very much, Joshua Geese. It really is appreciated. And now we are up to 26. Almost at the half-hour mark. So, is this how genes work? Kinda, basically. So, one thing is, what Bodie is talking about with, like, maybe Noah had a different gene from his mom. First, Bodie is mixing up the words gene and allele, right? So, genes are a section of the genome that code for a particular thing. So, for instance... you actually have multiple ones, but we already mentioned this, right? Amylase gene. You have several amylase genes. Now, these genes occur at particular locations in the genome, which are called loci, or locus for the singular, right? So, a gene occurs at a particular locus, and you have, for most of your DNA, 2 copies of each locus, right? If the exceptions are the Y chromosome and the mitochondrial DNA. Most people generally only have 1 set of mitochondrial DNA and at most one Y chromosome. About half of people have no Y chromosome, so you don't have to worry about that part and it not having a corresponding. So most people who don't have a Y chromosome have 2 X chromosomes, and therefore, in their nuclear DNA, every single chromosome has its opposite pair. If you have a particular version of a gene at that locus, that version is called an allele. And you can have 2 of the same alleles, or you can have 1 allele on one chromosome and 1 on the other. Now, alleles can be dominant or recessive, and it varies. So, for instance, if you have an allele for blonde hair, what that basically says is, hey, hair follicles don't make much melanin. Just don't. But if you have a gene for brown or black hair, that is a gene that says, do make melanin. And that is not the blonde hair is recessive, and the brown or black hair gene allele will be dominant because your cell is getting 2 different signals. Make lots of melanin and don't make lots of melanin. Okay, well then it makes lots of melanin. It needs to get 2 signals that say, hey, don't make much melanin before it stops doing that. So
I see.
Similarly, when Gregor Mendel first discovered the idea of dominant or recessive, he was using wrinkles in peas. Right? So inside the pea pod, is the pea smooth or wrinkly? And that was 2 alleles, one of which said, hey, fill up with extra water. And the other one said, hey, don't fill up much on water. And so because the peas would get both signals, it would end up actively drawing in water to the peas, making them smooth if it had both alleles. It took 2 of the, hey, don't bother with water alleles to make them wrinkly. Okay, so that's basically how dominance works.
Cool. Okay.
Now, creationists will like to pretend that dominance is at least somewhat based on whether or not the allele is good or bad. It's not. There are dominant deleterious alleles, and there are recessive beneficial alleles. It just depends on the specifics of the biochemistry of that allele in that gene. So, are there alleles that can shorten lifespans? Yeah, there definitely are. Are some of them recessive? Absolutely. So, is this a thing that if we accept the historicity of the text and the literal veracity of the ages, is that something that could be explained by a recessive allele inherited by Noah, and then also would have to have been inherited by his wife, and then passed on to at least Shem, so that Shem got both alleles for the shorter life that result in a shorter lifespan? Yes, that is not an impossible thing if we accept the basic premise that all of this is historical. But the problem is that we know what basically causes humans to age. And also, we know about how long mammals just tend to live based on things like level of activity, niche, body size, things like that. And it's just not the case that any of this is plausible in the first place. There's no good reason to think any large mammal ever lived 900 years. And so, yeah, it's basically what Bodie is doing is he's trying to come up with like the scientific explanation for why kryptonite causes Superman's weakness. But there isn't one. Fundamentally, it doesn't matter. You can come up with the most plausible explanation for the physical mechanism for kryptonite stripping Superman of his powers or making him go crazy or whatever. It doesn't matter, because fundamentally, the basis of this, that we should accept the existence of Superman in the first place, is completely bonkers. I don't care how plausible your description of kryptonite is. The whole basis is off the walls. Meat Permits Tab for $2 says, made a Laura Palmer but with whiskey. Pretty good. So wait, is that just a whiskey and Coke? Or is that whiskey and lemonade and Coke? Because that I could see. Okay. Let me know. Is that what whiskey and Coke? Oh, sorry. Whiskey and lemonade and Coke. I can talk. I know words. Also, I feel like my YouTube is like threatening to crash here, and I don't know what is up with YouTube.
Oh, dear. I know, right?
The good news is, if my YouTube crashes, it won't affect my upload. So, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Laughs in pink kryptonite, says Alex. Why is everything being slow all of a sudden? Uh-oh. People still hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
I can hear you.
You're wondering about the stream? I can still hear. Yeah, it's
all right. I don't know what was happening right there. My computer was just being a jerk, apparently. All right, so let's see. But Noah could still, let's see. Unless she too had this defective gene. So yeah, Noah's mom would have had to have the gene as well. Because the idea is, if this is a recessive deleterious allele, right, and it doesn't affect Noah, that means Noah's heterozygous for this, which means he has one copy of the recessive, and in this case, deleterious allele. And then he has another copy of the normal non-deleterious allele. And then for his son to have it, his wife would have also had to have it, right? Because he can't pass down two copies of it. Because whatever chromosome it's on, his son is only going to get one copy of that chromosome. Which means for his son to also have it. And this is normally how it works with genetic disease anyway, right? So unless it's a novel mutation, which it pretty much always is in the case of progeria, like Bodie was talking about. But most genetic diseases, you pass on to your offspring. And if you and your partner both are heterozygous for the deleterious allele, then half of your children will be also heterozygous, and therefore will not have the disease, but they will carry the disease. 1/4 of them will simply not have that allele at all, so they won't even carry it. But the other quarter will be affected by the deleterious allele because they'll have it. And that's just the way the math works out. So what we would expect in the case of this, if Bodie's explanation was true, would be that on average, 2 of the 3 sons would not be affected, but would have the allele. And then the remaining son would either have the defect and have it expressed, or simply wouldn't carry the allele at all. And so what Bodie is saying is the mathematically plausible option that maybe maybe Japheth Ham lived a long time, maybe they lived to 900, and only Shem had this problem. Which, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's, like I said, it's like the kryptonite, right? Like, really mean anything. Let's see. Also, Meat tagged that back to me and said, whiskey, lemonade, and Coke. All right. You know what? I might have to try making that as a Laura Palmer. What do you think, Vish?
I still think that shouldn't be the recipe.
What do you think should be the recipe?
I told you I'm workshopping it.
Well, it's been a while.
I'll have workshopped it by the end of the stream.
Oh, okay, fine. That'll be the last thing that we talk about in our extra 26 or more minutes.
That's right.
Was Mrs. Noah also a descendant of Lamech or Methuselah? Doesn't say anywhere in the text. We don't get any information about her. To find a godly wife... Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say again. I mean, this is you get very little information about women in the text.
Generally, yeah.
So
there are exceptions. Like we get a fair bit about.
There are, of course.
Sarah, we get
Yeah, but these are the women with names get this kind of information, get this kind of background story occasionally.
Yep. Do you know who the only named
Hmm.
woman is in the Quran?
I heard this recently. Remind me.
Miriam.
It's a woman named Maryam, who is Jesus' mother, but who is also identified as Moses' sister. So it's not clear if the author.
Those are both names.
Yeah, but this is identified as a single person.
You could.
So it's not clear if the author of the Quran knew that Maryam, which is the Arabic for both Miriam and Mary, because they're the same name.
Yeah.
It's not clear whether he understood that those were different people, and that the later one was named for the first one, or if he actually was conflating this and thought that Moses' sister was literally Jesus' mom, meaning that, Moses was literally Jesus' uncle.
A first century Exodus coming soon.
Or a really, really, really anciently old Moses.
Well, or I guess it would actually be a really anciently old Miriam.
Miriam, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because Moses could have been long dead. It doesn't actually say.
Yeah.
So in the text, it actually has like the people around her calling her the sister of Moses because
Miriam had the good pre-flood genes.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
the explanation. Yeah, but yeah, in the story of the birth of Jesus in the Quran, like Moses isn't there, but people keep calling his mom the sister of Moses. So like it was a little confusing. Anyway, to find a godly wife, Noah may have had to look to his own family line, like many patriarchs such as Jacob and Isaac in the Old Testament did. Alright, so I just want to point out, though, that if this is the case, if Noah and his wife are the result of close inbreeding, we're reducing the effective population size down from 5 to possibly just over 4. Right? Like, we're really shrinking down the amount of genetic variation that we're getting at this flood. And I want to remind people, we absolutely have the genetic information about this. Like, we've processed the human genome. We can tell if there was a bottleneck like this. There absolutely was not. And had there been, human genetics probably couldn't have recovered. But also, for 200 Argentinian pesos, Tiktaalik... Oh, and I have this on the wrong section. Sorry. Tiktaalik Episode 3, Revenge of the Fish, says, Muhammad, Jesus' mother is Miriam, and Moses' sister is Miriam. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. I mean, basically, although the degree to which the historical character of Muhammad actually wrote which parts of the Quran, I don't actually know.
But we'll allow it in the same way that we talk about what Luke wrote,
right, or
what Mark wrote.
I do think he was probably responsible for the composition of the majority of what's now in the Quran, but it's also the case that there's some good evidence that there was the corpus that we now know of as the Quran was still in flux within the first couple centuries after the death of Muhammad. So, like, And there are literary parallels that you can see with other literature in the area that might indicate borrowing. But one of the problems that we have is there was a collection of all variant Qurans with a reissuing of a standardized version, which means we just don't have the first few centuries of textual history for the Quran, which now just means, who knows? We can't know unless we find more surviving manuscripts that survived the purge from Caliph Uthman, which, I mean, basically, what happened to the Quran is the thing that a lot of Protestants wish had happened to the Bible.
See, I made this point. I actually made this point in a video with Alex O'Connor a couple months ago.
You were right to make it.
And Christian apologists didn't like it.
Aw, those poor babies.
Really,
Shocking.
They really didn't like it.
It's true though. They want there to be one textual history.
They felt the need to lecture me in the textual history of the Quran, and I'm like, guys, we all know this, right? Like, this isn't.
It's not a secret.
This is not the flex you think it is.
Right. Anyone who's looked into the basics of textual criticism in the Quran knows about Caliph Uthman and his recension of the Quran. It's one of the most basic facts about the Quranic corpus that you could possibly know from like a history of the text. If you don't know that, you just don't know anything about the history of the text.
Listen, Dapper, I even made the point to say, to provide the caveat, there are reasons why the textual history of the Quran looks the way it does, and we're not getting into that, but if Christians are looking for a perfectly transmitted text,
perfectly transmitted from that point, and even then only kind of. Because
that's how it's done, though.
Despite what Muslim apologists will tell you, there are in fact actually more than one. There is in fact more than one version of the Arabic text of the Quran currently in circulation in Islamic community. It is in fact not the case that there is only one version.
Yeah.
Because since Uthman, scribal differences did arise, and there is more than one version. Now, the differences are way more minor.
Nuance is hard to communicate in 3 sentences, but you know.
Now, I will say that the textual variants are way more minor than they are for like the manuscript variations that we have in, say, biblical manuscripts. But they do exist. So any Muslim apologist who tells you there's only one Quran in Arabic, I'm not going to say they're lying, but they're wrong. So, there's that. Anyway, let's see. It was not wrong to marry a close relative until the time of Moses. I'm just going to take a drink. I don't. Okay, so here's a few things. One, things like incest didn't become wrong because they were in like the Mosaic Law code. That's not how anything works. Further, people knew about things that were right and wrong before, even if we take the narrative as literally as Bodie wants us to. Aspects of the Mosaic Law code had to have been known to people in previous times in the narrative of the Bible, if taken literally, because remember Noah taking on 7 pairs of the clean animals, depending on how you read that text? For him to have done that, there had to have been some idea of what was clean and unclean before the Mosaic Law was given. So you don't.
Weird that, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. So you don't get to just say that until the Mosaic Law, nothing in there was known to be good or bad or whatever. Like, does Bodie really think that Noah, having not received a law that God would give to Moses, thought that, say, like, murder and theft was just perfectly fine, yet he was judged as righteous and godly among all the people before the flood? What was he doing that was good and righteous if he didn't have the law at all, any aspect of it? Doesn't make any sense, does it? So either, and the thing is, the entire reason they do this is just to get around the fact that the primeval history and the narrative about, like, the patriarchs involves a lot of icky stuff that the law prohibits. And they're like, well, what if? And then they'll just make these carve-outs of the law and say, well, this is something that actually wasn't wrong until the law was given, but then it became wrong. That doesn't work. That doesn't make any logical sense. Jeez. Abraham even married his half-sister Sarah. Yeah, well, I mean, Abram married Sarai, but whatever, that's fine. I'm not going to nitpick too much on that. After the flood in Genesis 9, prior to the assembly of Babel, while Noah and his descendants were still living in tents west from Shinar, west of normally in English, west from would be okay in Arabic. Yeah. Also, in Arabic, if you want to say something is near or far, you also have to usually say from. Anyway.
See, ordinarily I would be like, I would be like, oh, he's betraying a sense of actually reading the Hebrew text here, but I can't give him that benefit of the doubt.
Righteous Noah became rather so after this, righteous Noah became rather drunk, so drunk in fact, that he lay naked in his tent and failed to recognize that his son Ham had gazed into the tent and observed him, and then proceeded to spread the word about his father. Guys, you guys can make me as drunk as Noah if you provide enough, super chats and memberships. So, you want me to lay drunkenly naked in a tent? You guys know what to do. I don't have a tent. Damn. I would also get a tent if I got enough money to lay naked.
If you got enough money to lie drunk and naked in it.
Yeah. Although
that definitely sounds like a super chat goal.
There we go, yeah. Enough super chats and I will buy a tent and then lay in it naked. And so it was Shem and Japheth's responsibility to walk in backward, not looking at their father's nakedness, and lay a covering over him. Genesis 9:23. Why was it their responsibility to cover Noah? Why does any of this matter? Where was Noah's wife? It doesn't matter. This isn't a real story. Bodie, this is a literary creation as part of a whole mytho-history that's trying to give you ideologies about why the world is the way it is, that doesn't care about historicity. None of this is real. Jeez. Why was it their responsibility to cover Noah? It doesn't matter. It wasn't. It didn't happen. Where was Noah's wife? Not in the story, because she wasn't part of that story according to that author. According to Bishop Usher, okay, I guess now we're just going to go to some... Normally, young earth creationists don't like going to Catholic bishops for their answers, but for some reason, Usher gets a pass. According to Archbishop Usher, the events at Babel occurred about 106 years after the flood. According to the Bible, about 3 to 4 generations had been born, so this makes sense. Great. Thus, Ham viewing his father's naked... Oh, sorry.
So all he's saying is the Catholic bishop from how many years ago? 3, 4? Is it over 400 years ago?
Usher, I don't actually remember.
Usher, I don't know. But all Bodie's saying is that this Catholic bishop could count and add up the numbers provided in the Bible as well as Bodie can.
Well, actually, I'm not sure he can do it as well as Bodie can. Sorry, I'm not sure Bodie can do it as well as Bishop Usher.
Bodie can do it as well as he can.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, I'm not positive about that.
Dapper?
Yes.
I got it.
Okay, here we go. What's the Laura Palmer?
Okay. The Laura Palmer is a spin on black tea and lemonade. The black tea is Lapsang Souchong, which if you've had it, you know it's very smoky.
Yes, it is. It's like inhaling smoke.
That's right. And you mix that with lemon liqueur, like limoncello.
Okay.
And then on top of the ice cubes, you float a shot of espresso and you garnish it with a cherry.
That sounds terrible.
And then you wrap the glass in some saran wrap so it looks like it's wrapped in plastic.
I do like the wrapped in plastic touch, but that sounds absolutely vile, though.
Really? Because if you've drank Lapsang Souchong, you know it's extremely mild. Like, it tastes almost like nothing.
I do.
It smells very strong, but it has almost no flavor.
I don't want to float a shot of espresso on lemonade.
Okay.
That sounds terrible to me.
I'm going to try this.
Okay.
And let y'all know how it tastes.
All right.
Are you going to try it before the end of the stream?
No, because I don't have an espresso machine.
Okay.
So are you just going to buy an espresso? Or are you just what do you?
You're going to go to get an espresso and bring it home?
Like, what I'm going to do is the next time I'm at a bar that has the proper ingredients, because a lot of them will have lemon liqueur.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask for black tea with lemon liqueur, and the proportions will matter a lot. Okay. It may not be Lapsang Souchong, but that's okay. Black tea you'll just have to do in the meantime, and then I'll just order a shot of espresso on the side. and then I'll just
Oh,
float it
yeah.
on top. It's fine. But see, the lemon liqueur, it's liqueur, so it's slightly sweet. So that plus the black tea is fine. But the espresso is going to have just enough bite. Because you can't have actual cocaine in a drink, y'all.
Yeah.
You got to have something that's going to give you the jitters.
Well, you can have
And I
coca
don't
leaf
think
extract.
we could put Red Bull in this thing. That would be gross.
You can put coca leaf extract in it, though. That's the main flavoring in Coca-Cola. So, like, just do that.
It is yummy.
Also,
and you know what?
The espresso, you could also just drink the Laura Palmer and chase it with espresso.
Okay, that might be better. I might prefer that.
Yeah.
So, by the way, it was pointed out that Bishop Usher Archbishop Usher was from the Church of Ireland, which is in fact the Anglican Church in Ireland. So sorry about that. He was in fact an Anglican bishop. Although still, I find most young Earth creationists aren't big fans of like Anglican claims to apostolic succession and whatnot, because most of them, I feel like, just don't like the idea of apostolic succession. Which, okay, whatever, I don't really care. Don't like it. That's fine. Josh McGee's for $10.
Also, I feel like... Go ahead.
Josh McGee's for $10 says, I passed a sign near where I live stating that Heidi Bilbo is running for office. I hope that she likes less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
So, okay. Here's the thing. Part of this is presentation. Part of it is the flavor profile that's meant to evoke a mood. I was a barista for like 6.5 years. I can tell you that there are certain combinations that sound like they're just the most disgusting thing ever, and they end up tasting
I
really
believe
good.
this.
Okay.
Right. I believe this is true. I wanted to point out here too that I feel like Toblixon is picking up on something that might be a concern to certain Christian apologists living in today's day and age. Is he saying that good Christians should walk everywhere backwards? And based on some of the rhetoric that you get out of places like AIG, I mean, things are bad, and things are getting kind of to that point, aren't they? Where you just can't even go outside anymore without being accosted or violated by some form of offense.
That's why I haven't left the house in 3 months.
Trixie Purple is reading my mind. They said it sounds very acidic, and that's because if you know anything about me, if you spend more than about 5 minutes around me, you'll realize I love acidic things.
Yeah.
Food and drink.
I might have
and I love tart things, so when someone's like, this is sour, I'm like, listen, unless it's physically making my eyeballs twitch and water, it's not sour enough.
Also, I have to point out that the Laura Palmer was originally based on Arnold Palmer, which is also a very acidic drink. Like, extremely acidic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
also, I mean, it's black tea and lemonade. Like, dude, the only way it could be more acidic is if you freaking added, like, what's it called? Why did my brain just completely erase every neural pathway?
I don't know. But hey, we were talking about how Protestants usually aren't big fans of the whole idea of bishops and apostolic succession. Orthosaur just popped in. Hey, Orthosaur, how's Great Lent treating you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, since Mexican Coke comes up a lot, has come up a lot lately this week, any of you who like drinking Mexican Coke and despair that you can't access it, right now is a great time to actually go get basically Mexican Coke at your local stores. If you see Coke and it has a yellow bottle cap instead of the normal red one, that is using real sugar, not corn syrup. And we're doing that because Jews that observe Passover that don't have, like, corn, yeah, that's why that's there. So if you see Cokes in your local store and it has a yellow bottle cap, snatch it up because that's going to taste the most like Mexican Coke.
Okay. Also, thank you, Grumpy Kevin, for the information. And Orthosaur. So my good friend, Dr. Matthew Monger, wrote his PhD dissertation on the composition of the Book of Jubilees.
Yeah.
And
Mongers!
yeah. Yeah. So, it's something he might actually even talk about on. He did a stream recently. I don't know if it's published yet, but he did one with Liv Ingeborg Lead, who is his PhD, the brilliant Liv Ingeborg Lead, who is his brilliant. I said that already. She deserves it twice. PhD supervisor, but they're going to be. I believe it's coming out on Jacob Berman's channel on History Valley at some point. But I was going to say, Matt makes the case that I think a pretty good one that the stitching together of the Book of Jubilees is actually pretty late. So maybe even later than the second century.
Jubilees. It's the coolest Genesis fanfic.
That's pretty good.
So, Metageeky Platypus Warlock just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership, so we'll take a drink, and hey, up to 27 minutes. And also, Orthosaurus said, well, I'm sick since Thursday, and this is only why I've eaten meat. Well, look, I'm sorry that you're not feeling well. Second, I am glad that you've decided to break the fast while you're ill. That is always...
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Orthosaur.
Yeah. Hey, if you're fasting for religious reasons and you're ill, maybe don't fast. Maybe don't fast.
Meat Permits Tad says, Vish out here crushing up vitamin C's and dumping them in a bag of Sour Patch Kids. I mean, as I told Alex Markel, it's one of those things like when I eat Warheads, I'm like, yummy, this is the right kind of sour. And then you get all the sour off and it turns into sweet candy and it's disgusting and I spit it out.
Wow.
Anyone who says they like the sweet part of Warheads is lying.
This is when I was a kid, I went into my mom's baking cupboard once and pulled out the tartaric acid and was just like just straight, right? But I'm not kidding. I like shredded my tongue.
Oh yeah,
doing it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
By the way, my neural pathways restored themselves. Pineapple juice.
Oh, the juice that
the only way an Arnold Palmer could possibly be more acidic with the black tea and the lemonade is if you added pineapple juice. Like, you would just dissolve your tongue.
That reminds me, by the way, Vishanti, maybe you should add some bulk citric acid to your Amazon wish list.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
You just add it to anything.
You know what? I've started to realize that a lot of my preference for sour and savory and acidic things is probably my Mexican genes because we put spicy and acidic on everything.
Reminds me.
Our candy has spice on it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's good. There's some good spicy candy, but also it reminds me of the limon takis. They're too sour for me. I just can't.
Oh my god.
I can't.
Perfect.
All right.
But it's like, yeah, you want fresh sliced fruit? How about we sprinkle some spicy stuff on there?
I mean, delicious spicy stuff.
Put some tahini on your mango slices. Like, yes.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
All right. Thus, Ham's viewing his father's nakedness occurred before Babel, but within enough time for Canaan to be born. Okay, Ham's youngest, and be cursed by Noah when he awoke. Great. Sure. Who cares? If this is the case, then Noah and Mrs. Noah could have had defective genes that were passed on to their sons. What? How do you make this connection? What? I'm taking a drink. There's no follow through there, Bodie. There's no through line.
Anonymous Pie wrote, dissolving your tongue, try mouth pipetting glacial acetic acid with a will unblock suddenly pipette.
Oh. Interesting. This may explain why Shem only lived 600 years and why Noah's wife is missing in Genesis 9. She's not missing in Genesis 9. The author just didn't give a crap. And why ages began dropping. Further, this explains one aspect of how this could have coupled in subsequent generations to drop off their ages even more. Okay, hold on. Further, this explains one aspect of how this could have coupled. What does he mean?
I don't know.
How this could have coupled? What's coupling? In what?
What is? Yeah.
This sentence. I'm taking another drink. Normally, when it comes to his crazy sentences, I at least know what he's getting at. I have no idea in this case. I'm taking another drink.
Is he suggesting that there were a combination of factors?
I don't know. Maybe the curse is also coupling with the defective genes that he's imagining to reduce the age. I guess maybe.
I like your. That seems like the more
Holy
honestly-
moly!
But of
Y'all,
course, this is
I've been reliably informed that tahine gummy rings are a thing in the United States,
Ooh.
and I'm very excited about that because normally I just go for fresh fruit with tahine on it, but gummies, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
TikTok episode 3, Revenge of the Fish, for 200 Argentinian pesos. Says Canaan after Noah cursed him for what Cam did. Round face.
Ham?
I'm not sure who Cam is. Maybe he meant Ham.
Maybe it's Ham?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Let's
Cam,
see.
Mm.
I know a Cam who used to make some pretty good YouTube content.
But of course, this is biblical speculation and not to be taken dogmatically.
Oh, good.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thanks for letting
Thanks
us
for
know.
telling us.
Yeah.
I would have figured that out.
All right.
Jeez.
Let's
Didn't realize. I didn't realize you may have been speaking ex cathedra there, Bodie.
Yeah, really. Jeez.
Boy. Wow.
Bodie can't even
The
translate
cathedra's just his
ex
little
cathedra.
shitty desktop chair.
Oh man.
Mm.
Which actually reminds me of one of my pet
All right.
peeves, which is Protestants calling their churches cathedral with no understanding of what that word means.
Well, it sounds fancy and highfalutin.
Yeah, it turns out that
Mhm.
being fancy and highfalutin is not what the word cathedral means, and you don't get to just call a church a cathedral because it's fancy and highfalutin. A cathedral is the
Good luck
parish church
convincing them.
of a bishop. If there's no bishop whose church that is, it's not a cathedral. And if the church is the church of a bishop, it's a cathedral no matter how low rent it is. In fact, speaking of low rent, the cathedral, or at least this was the case a while back, the cathedral of the Eastern Orthodox bishop of, like, basically East Asia, his cathedral is a rented office space in Singapore. That's it. It's just a rented office space. That's the cathedral.
Now I'm trying to remember if Robert Schuller ever gave himself the title bishop.
There's a lot of people who've given
does
themselves
anyone
the
know-
title bishop.
Sure, but I mean, I'm just I just don't remember. No, does anybody remember? I could look it
I
up.
don't
but
know.
It's easy to get the chat to do these things for me. So
Sorry. The Puts for $5 says, maybe the real curse is the defective genes we made along the way. Yeah, maybe. Kip,
Yes.
I do think it is your turn, though, for common denominator of all people today.
Let's find out what the common denominator of
Okay.
all people today is. All people go back to Noah and his wife, in brackets,
Mrs. Noah.
Mrs. Noah.
Completely unnecessary, but okay.
He probably
So
thought
weird.
that was hilarious.
Laughing
Oh.
my ass off.
I mean, maybe
Hey,
it
by
was
the
so
way,
weird.
since Tesla Ranger brought it up, the Crystal Cathedral, which is just down the street from me, was sold, and it is now a Catholic diocese.
Oh, is it a Catholic
So
cathedral?
it might actually be a
real
cathedral now.
Well, only if it's the seat of a bishop.
I'm checking.
though.
It might be.
Checking.
Yeah.
I mean, if
So yes, Tesla Ranger, that is correct. Robert Schuller was maybe the bishop of the Crystal Cathedral. Someone has to figure this
Since
out.
2019, it has served as the cathedral of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Orange.
it's finally a real
Brilliant.
cathedral.
It is
Congratulations.
finally
Brilliant.
a real cathedral. It was sold
depending
off
on-
because any other megachurch that owned it, and the Catholics bought it and then renovated it and converted it to the Catholic liturgy and then rededicated. It is now technically known as Christ Cathedral, but it is the seat of the Diocese of Orange.
All right.
Awesome.
Well done, Crystal
Yeah.
Cathedral. You did it.
Finally, it's finally a cathedral.
But I still don't know. Anyways. So the genetics of reduced age had to come through them. Consider the name of Noah and the prophecy associated with it. Oh my God, where is he going with this?
Who knows? It's
And
impossible.
he called
to
his
tell.
name Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord has cursed."
That's not
Genesis
a prophecy.
5:29.
That's just an aspiration that your son will be a joy to you. That's all that I'm taking a drink. That's not even a prophecy. Then again, it's not like people don't just like making up prophecies out of things that are definitely not prophecies originally.
This is how things are done, and I mean, this is just, as I continue to say, this is really just an example of good Second Temple Jewish scripture interpretation. So, so Noah's name literally means rest. The verse is obviously looking back to Genesis 3:17-19.
Okay, that's true. It is. It is doing that.
Where the ground was cursed due to sin, yes, by the sweat of your brow, and through painful toil will you work the ground. How can we have rest or comfort in this? By either finding better ways of doing the work, ... or by not doing it for as long.
Because you died. Okay. Chris McDaniel asks, if we are all descended from Noah and Noah's wife, wouldn't we all have the same mitochondrial DNA? No, because Noah's wife didn't pass on her mitochondrial DNA according to the story, because while Noah's sons would have had it, all of their children would have had their wives' mitochondrial DNA. And we don't have any good reason to think that the wives are supposed to have been like Noah's daughters or the half-sisters of the three brothers. So in order for humans to now have, as Bodie would say, Mrs. Noah's mitochondrial DNA, she would also have had to be the ancestor of the three sons' wives, which we have no reason to think, even as intended by the author, and even if you take it literally. So, yeah. But everyone who has a Y chromosome would have their Y chromosome traced back to Noah. So there is that. But yeah, mitochondrial, not so much, because of the three wives. And I usually assume, for the sake of benefiting young Earth creationists, that the three wives were like maximally unrelated to each other. Bodie, apparently, is okay with them being like second cousins of the sons or something.
Maybe even sisters.
Yeah, I don't know.
Half sisters, we're not sure. It was all good back then.
Yeah, apparently. Because remember,
commentators,
nothing in the law was wrong until the law was given. Which means that's why Noah was able to get drunk.
That's how morality works, Dapper. That's how it works.
Yep. And so it does beg the question then, what did Noah do to be judged as godly? Since there were no rules? But who knows?
But you see, they knew them, it was passed down orally, and perhaps with a secret tablet from Adam.
It was written on their hearts.
I mean,
okay,
sure. We'll just.
Commentators have suggested many ideas on how we can have comfort according to this passage.
Some researchers suggest just the ancient alien line.
Such as Noah comforting us in being a type of Christ with the ark. That's a mess of a clause there.
Why can't it just be that Noah's family was happy to have a baby and thought that having a baby would be a comfort to them, which is a thing that people experience? Why can't that just be that?
Right.
Why do we have to read so much into this? Even if we accept that Noah being a type of Christ, which is a fairly common Christian interpretation of this whole thing, if you're into typological interpretations of the Bible, okay, great. I still don't see why this has to connect to the statement about his name. But you know what? Who cares? I'm not a theologian.
Others have pointed out, I am also not a theologian. Others have pointed out that this relates to the post-flood statement by God that he would no longer curse the ground for man's sake, among other comments by both God and commentators.
Okay, that is a weird sentence, for sure.
All right.
Wow. Some have said that this was the advent of farming. However, Adam worked the ground, Genesis 3:23, helpfully provided in the footnote for you there.
I still see that.
So did Cain.
I still see that and think Genesis 3:23 to the 15th power. That's all I see.
So yeah, and I mean, so he not only is there Genesis 3:23 in the parentheses, he also helpfully provides it again, just in case you forgot, in the footnote that you're supposed to consult.
But then also we get Revelation 14:13 that's just quoted for us.
Right. But here, okay, so this is very likely not the best interpretation. Consider this completely unrelated verse. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm glossing, aren't I? Consider this verse. Then I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, "Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them."
All right, so this is a relatively
14:13.
This is relatively minor, but generally you should include something that indicates the translation you're taking something from, or that indicates that you're doing the translation if you are in fact doing the translation yourself. Bodie does not do that, which means if I wanted to look these things up, I would probably have to search through a few different versions. Now, Bodie being Bodie, I think there's a fair chance they're just New International Version, because that's like the popular Bible among Christians of Bodie's persuasion, as far as I know. So
maybe ESV.
Maybe ESV
too.
I find that ESV is usually used by the Protestants of Bodie's persuasion who have higher pretensions to scholarliness than Bodie. Whereas Bodie does not have that. Or also just Christians who really, really don't like women might use the ESV.
Yes.
There's that too.
Yes.
Because there's an intentional attempt by the translators to make it like the most misogynistic version of the Bible you could reasonably make given the text. Which, it's like, hey, there's some ambiguity. Oh, okay. Are any of the possible translations really bad for women? We'll pick whichever one that.
Let's go with that.
Yeah. And it's hilarious to me because the trend in progressive Judaism has been for more gender neutral language and more gender options for like usually was explicitly male liturgy and stuff like that. So I just think that's funny that they're like, no, we're going to go harder into misogyny. And like most denominations of Judaism are just like, nah, we're just going to like completely go in the opposite direction.
Imagine looking at the Bible and thinking, you know what? What this needs is more sexism.
Is more.
Like, my goodness, I like the Bible, but I am not going to pretend that it does not have an overabundance of sexism that it does not need.
Right.
Let's see. Lieutenant Math Navigator for 499 says Bodie appears to belong to the Karl Baugh school of failing to simulate human behavior. Yeah, I mean, not nearly as much, but yeah, he does seem to have a bit of that problem. Karl Baugh, man, I'm still not convinced he's actually a human. If there was ever any evidence that like there was an alien designed to look like a human who had come down to observe humans and couldn't quite figure out how humans act or talk, but was physically identical to a human, Karl Baugh would be right there. Like, prime candidate. That man will talk for like 10 minutes, never get to a primary verb, and just start a new sentence. And you're just like, what the hell just happened?
How did you do that?
It's amazing. I've literally seen him walk up to some poster he himself made, talking about how it's the scientific realm of conjecture that follows the fossil record that has been uncovered by scientists that are taught in schools in academic fashion.
Boy.
He just goes on like that, and then never actually makes any kind of claim or statement, and there's no real verb anywhere in the main clause. And then he'll just move on to a new poster and start doing the same thing with this new poster.
Do you guys?
Oh,
do you
hey,
guys
Apologia.
remember how? Oh, hey, Paul.
The Tower of Babel is
Nepo
real. He
creationist.
spelled it Babel as in babbling. Bodie Hodge is not a Nepo creationist.
Okay, actually, after we read this next super chat, we're going to talk about the degree to which it is actually no longer the case that Bodie seems to be a Nepo creationist, because things have happened that we should probably talk about.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Spill the tea.
Meat Permits Tad for $5 says, my mom is a theologian. I would call and ask her, but this book would make her head explode. Yeah, I imagine so. AIG is a knapsack of wangs with a Ghidorah, and we will take a drink. So, okay. For a while, Bodie was really just riding the coattails of Ken Ham, who, in case you don't know, is his father-in-law. His wife is Ken Ham's daughter. But he recently, and by recently I mean in like the last few years, left Answers in Genesis and started his own foundation because it was very clear that Ken Ham was not handing the reins to Bodie. Instead, Ken Ham had selected a creationist from Australia, Martin Isles, I believe his name is. Might be Marvin, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And he became the new... the
CEO.
Yeah, he became the CEO, but it was like there was some weird title like the directing CEO or something. Basically, he was CEO for day-to-day operations. And then Ken Ham hung on as what was called like the legacy CEO, and he was supposed to be like mostly retired, but he'd still write stuff.
Like an emeritus.
Yeah,
CEO.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was also still supposed to be, like, while he was alive, in charge of, like, the general steering of Answers in Genesis. But
I was hoping you were going to say steering of the Ark. But
well, that would be fun. Unfortunately, it's attached to a giant pile of concrete that provides all the HVAC and electricity and whatnot.
Part of what makes it fun.
Yeah.
So,
but then recently, Isles was, he left Answers in Genesis as a mutual decision.
He's gone already.
He's gone already.
Didn't this like just happen? Like it just happened like less.
It was
than
like
2 years ago, right?
It was not even 2 years ago. So now, apparently, Ken Ham is now just once again acting as CEO. Isles is out. He's looking for. He's looking to start his own ministry or what. But Bodie isn't back. So I think that what's happening is that Isles probably got fired. I can't say for certain. It's possible he just decided it wasn't for him. Although he was, quote unquote, jokingly talking about if anyone needs a Christian CEO for their ministry, hit me up. And he was doing this like a year ago. I'm not sure to what degree he was fired versus he was let go. He quit.
Maybe
I don't know.
that's the reason.
But anyway,
hey,
so,
we have an update on the Laura Palmer, courtesy of Zerelon. So Zerelon says, after final tasting notes, after playing with it, it smells like a stale ashtray. Perfect. Go heavy on the espresso. It actually tastes pretty good. Thank you. I was right. I told you so.
all right.
I told you so.
Well, tell you what, guys. If we can get this to the fancy avatar level, I will buy the ingredients for a Laura Palmer, and that'll be the next thing I drink. But that's...
It's posted in your Discord, by the way.
Oh, good.
If you want to.
very nice.
But that means we'll have to get to the fancy avatar. So if you want to see me drink a Laura Palmer, I'll even put on my human suit and put that on camera.
I really, really wish people would learn that I'm not wrong about these things.
Tiktaalik...
I have learned that
You can doubt me, but all right.
Most of the time, Vish is right about things. So
Yeah, most of the time, I have a pretty high success rate. So
All right. For 100 Argentinian pesos, Tiktaalik Episode 3 Revenge of the Fish says, you see, Ba did the impossible, a completely wordless language. Agma Schwa would go crazy over that. So first of all, that is not completely impossible. Second, yes, Agma Schwa would indeed go crazy over that.
Our food-based and tactical.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Vishanti and I may have been etherically displaced the other night and came up...
displaced?
Yeah, we came up with an entire food-based grammatical sketch for a Conlang, which was based on American eating habits, and it had the numbers, I believe, were singular, dual, plural, and supersize. And it had a specific gender just for food or meals over 1,500 calories. So, yeah.
Yes.
Because, you know what? Why can't supersize be its own number in a grammatical sense? It can.
Noun incorporation, but only for food as a direct object.
Yes, yeah. Food as a direct object can be incorporated into the verbal complex. Yeah, so...
Yes. We decided that we were trying to name it, and we came up with, like, Supersize Glish and Mega Merkin.
Yeah.
And we decided that supersized Glish is spoken where versus Mega Merkin, it's like maybe it's class based or caloric based, and so Mega Merkin has a noun gender specifically for restaurant meals over 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
Oh, very
Yep.
nice.
Yeah.
TikTok episode 3,
Yeah.
Revenge of the Fish, says, please participate in the next Cursed Conlang Circus. It would be fun.
Yeah, right.
I do worry a little bit, though, that, like, if I participate, because I do know Agmashwa, we do talk every once in a while, that, like, it would feel a little bit unfair if we won. So, like, that is one thing. Is it, like, it's sort
I
of
still
like...
think we should do it.
Yeah, we probably should. We should probably at
Just
least...
for fun.
You know what we could do? Is we could say, hey, this is a submission that we want read out during the First Conlang, circus. But don't select it to win. Because
we're not doing it to compete. We just want people to enjoy the cursed.
Yeah, that I think that could be fair, because I really don't want to do an entry because Agmash was someone who I've talked to, like, behind the scenes, so that feels it feels cheaty.
In this chat right now.
Could be. I don't know. I mean, I think he's back from Spain.
Yeah, we also came up with the Mirror Universe version of Ultra French.
Yeah, we did. That's
Unterdeutsch.
Unterdeutsch, yep. Yeah, for some reason, Vishanti and I getting etherically displaced late at night just leads into, like, weird Conlang brainstorming. It's a very strange
So many
thing.
people, when they become ethereally displaced,
Etherically.
they laugh at things, they get the munchies, they watch, stuff and just zone out. We're over here fucking brainstorming linguistics.
I mean, to be fair, I also got the munchies and
I'm
also
in
laughed.
bed by this point. The kids do what the kids do.
Yeah, we didn't send this to Kim.
Kids.
But you know what, Kip? Maybe next time we will include you so you can give your input into how to make a Conlang based on American overeating habits.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
It is cursed.
All right. Revelation 14:13 lends support to the idea that the rest or come from work and labor means that one has died. Does it? Does it actually, Bodie? Because this doesn't say a damn thing about anything in Genesis.
I think I'm reading still.
Oh, sorry. No, it's on to me. I was the common. Oh, maybe you are.
No, you were not. You were not.
Well, too bad.
Fucking dinosaur.
Let's face it. The people after Noah did not work for 900 years, but far less than that by the sheer fact that they did not live as long. Okay, go ahead, Kip. You can read the last paragraph.
Oh, good. And does the blank space beyond this actually mean that the chapter is over?
I believe it does.
Oh.
Could it mean that? Okay.
Alex Markle says
could. No.
Alex Markle says, "Are you saying that you got high and came up with a food-based language?" Look, I'm saying we got etherically displaced.
I say it's ethereally.
Okay,
that
but
sounds.
Here's the problem. That's not the actual thing from Nathan Thompson, and the entire point is to embarrass Nathan Thompson by making his famous statement. Oh, no, wait, not Austin. It was Austin Whitsitt. Sorry. The whole point is to embarrass Austin Whitsitt by turning his word salad explanation of moon phases into a phrase that means getting high for two reasons. One, it would embarrass him because it's so stupid. And two, because he likes to pretend that he doesn't get high to his wife that he abuses.
Ah!
Mm.
Yeah.
So he said the word etherically?
Yes, which is why it's etherically. I agree. Ethereally sounds better, but it doesn't get under the skin of Austin Whitsitt. And the entire point to get under the skin of Austin Whitsitt. Because
I don't want to think about Austin Whitsitt every time I get high. So
you don't have to. You just have to say etherically displaced. And while you're etherically displaced, you won't even notice it's about Austin Whitsitt.
Probably not.
I'm good. In my dialect that's not flurf oriented, it's ethereally. So
that's another thing. We could do a Conlang that's
dialect.
entirely dedicated to making fun of flirts.
Good.
All right.
Sorry. Could Genesis 5:29 mean that through Noah, people would not live as long and therefore have rest concerning their work and toil? It is possible.
You're just
is such a thing even possible?
Yeah, he's just channeling Giorgio
so
Tsoukalos.
isn't it? Oh
Yes.
shit!
I'm just asking questions, guys. An entire book. Oh my goodness.
It is an entire book could likely be written on the subject. I think Bodie secretly is dying to write this book. I think this is his next book. Does he do book projects, or was this like a one-off?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. An entire book could likely be written on the subject, but this chapter should help readers to think about the ages in more detail. Let's be fair. It certainly has pushed readers to think about the ages in more detail.
I guess that's true. Narongda
I don't know how helpful it's been.
Well, Narongda, who's been a member for 18 months, is at the tetrapod level, says Noah means rest, so people after him died sooner. Yeah, that is the encapsulation of Bodhi's argument here.
That's it. Yes, that's the.
Oh my God,
I think he thinks this is a very clever argument.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we are only now about 11 minutes away from our end time. But if you want to change that, it is easy to do. And for $10, Sean, the 21st century viewer of this channel, says, isn't the language of make fun of flirts just any language spoken above a 5th grade level with a Godzilla? And we'll take a drink for the Godzilla. So, I mean, on the one hand, yes, right? But on the other hand, I don't think you understand the degree to which you can grammaticize the mockery of flirts. Like, grammaticize it. Have things like verb moods specifically for talking about irrealis concepts from Flat Earth that are laughably impossible and incoherent. Like, what if that was an entire mood? Right? What if you had grammatical particles to indicate that that was the mood that you were going for, that were phonetically derived from the names of prominent Flat Earthers? What if you had a JM Truth mood specifically for making up bullshit about the Bible and thinking that it's real because you made it up? And the particle that indicates that that's the mood of the verb was just Joshua Michael. That is a thing you could do with a Conlang. No one can stop you.
I also want to give credit to Sean, the 21st century viewer of this channel, for an excellent name.
Yes. Well, we also just got 15 more memberships. So, here's what
I'm wondering if I should grab something to eat. But, yeah.
Well, first we got a few things. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $4.99 says, this is not a book project. This is a 6th grade creative writing project. I got an F, subsequently expanded to book length. Okay, but for Bodie, he can't tell the difference.
The difference.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
All right, so
very true.
Here's what I'm going to do. Let's say Kip and Vishanti, well, I take 15 drinks here. Why don't you talk about what kinds of grammatical features you could use in a Conlang to mock Flurfs and or Young Earth creation?
Boy, yeah.
I would rather not.
Can I go get something to eat instead?
Sure. I'm only on drink 6 here.
Okay.
That's okay.
I'm going to get something to eat.
Okay. That's fine. Fearmonger was asking if Dapper's etherically displaced right now. He's drinking, so no. That's not it right now.
I might be later.
Yeah, it might be later.
But then they're going to have a show with Chesh, and I probably shouldn't be etherically displaced for that.
Yeah.
I got a show with Chesh at 6 Eastern, 9 Pacific. So, all right. So I think that means that if it was Kip's turn, it's now back to Vishanti's turn. What about Ancestor Worship? This might be a chapter we skip, because I have no idea why anyone would care.
Well, I was telling you about Shinto and how they think anything with a box you carry on poles was like, oh no, that's the Ark of the Covenant, actually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. He did say stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Holy
really
crap, that's dumb.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's gonna just basically be like, Ancestor Worship's wrong! Because it's not part of our tradition.
Meat Permit says, is there a Steve mood for not calling your son? How about this? How about we do something where like we indicate noun case with particles like in Japanese, but then there's a few particles in Japanese that put in front of a noun. that don't actually indicate the syntactic role of the noun, but instead indicate its role in the discourse, like the topic marker? What if there was a marker for nouns for children who aren't called by their pseudoscientist parents, and the particle is just Steve? There you go. Or just for children who have disowned their pseudoscientist parents. Which could also, I guess, be used for Elon Musk's daughter that he that wants nothing to do with him. Yeah. Which, by the way,
I just now noticed, Kip, you have the coolest shirt ever.
I do have the coolest shirt. Thank you for
SpongeBob's
noticing.
driver's license. Yeah.
That
Very
is.
nice.
I tend to mark his birthday when it comes around in July.
Oh, there's that.
Betty Geeky Platypus
Yeah.
Warlock for $2 says, what about a Conlang to mock flirfs and turfs? I mean,
Ugh.
yeah, you can do that. Look, here's the thing. You can do whatever you want for your own constructed language. It's a constructed language, right? You can make up new stuff. Also, wow. Yeah, we're going to go until 42 minutes at this point.
Woo!
We could actually make it so that I have
Glad
to
I grabbed food.
Yeah, we could actually make it so I have to drink the Laurel Palmer on like the next stream.
Hey.
Which, by the way, is Kent with Bent 160. Is the next stream.
Okay.
Alex Marco says, make it gendered for extra spiciness. Well, you could actually just have turf as a gender, right? You could have a pronoun specifically for turfs, and another one specifically for flirfs. That could just be a noun gender. The thing is, gender in the grammatical sense doesn't have to have anything to do with societal genders, man or woman or non-binary or anything like that, right? Noun genders in languages are only ever coincidentally associated with. So, yeah, you can. Any class of nouns you want can be a gender. Like, Swahili has genders for, like, dangerous animals and, like, rocks and plants or something as, like, a separate gender. Like, gender can be just about anything. Technically, Navajo doesn't have genders, but it has noun classes, and, like, the noun classes are, like, there's, like, fire has its own noun class, and then lightning and humans get their own separate noun class, and, like, there's a whole hierarchy, and none of it's masculine or feminine.
It's awesome.
There's a lot of languages that use a rational-irrational gender system, where anything that's, like, people, so, like, gods, divine messengers, people, mythical beings that can talk, things like that, all end up in the rational gender, and then everything else ends up in the irrational gender. There are some languages that use an animacy, so animals and humans and things that can move of their own accord, which sometimes includes things like rivers, get in the animate gender, and things like rocks and trees and, I don't know, all other things that can't move, those go in the inanimate gender. And so, like, yeah, there's a whole lot of variation. Josh McGee's for $20 says, here's for the folks who want to donate but can't. Thank you very much.
Wow. I'm kind of excited, guys. My son just found out that the neighbors we hate are moving.
Oh, congratulations.
Hooray!
I gotta say, that reminds me when Craig had to move recently, he was like, at least I can get away from that neighbor I had to beat up. It's like, yep, you can't get away from him. The one who stole his wife's bike.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And who the court sided with that guy in their altercation. I was like, that's some bullshit. You know what?
BS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, oh, by the way, the next episode of Star Trek Endurance, episode 1, should be on the 11th of next month. And we should have a full crew, including Craig, Maddie, Chesh, Zeralon, Necro,
Not me.
Yeah, not Kip.
No.
Sorry, Kip. You know, Kip, this all just stems back to that one time I had you on a one-shot and offered you a spot on Star Trek Lexington, and you turned it down.
Oh.
That's what.
Is that how this? Oh.
So what that meant was, like, actually there was one slot for endurance, right? And I had a priority list based on people who had been in previous games and, like, their level of experience and whatnot with TTRPGs. And you were on the list, but there were 2 people higher than you on the list, and one of them accepted the slot.
Wow.
You were, like, next on the list. You were look. There were more than just you on the list. There were all other people farther down on the list than you. But I was going in order, and someone above you took that spot. Whereas if you had been in Lexington, you would have not even needed the spot. You would have just automatically been in. But you said no.
Well,
Sometimes, listen, sometimes you have to say no.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to.
I'm not even saying it was a mistake. I'm just letting you know how it worked. But we just got another membership from Sapphire Light, formerly Fade to Gray. So thank you very much. All right. So, Vishanti, would you like to talk to us about ancestor worship?
Shall I proceed?
Please do. In fact, actually, proceed. And while you're proceeding, I have just finished like a third can of Arnold Palmer. I'm going to be right back in just a minute. So please proceed. Okay. I'll be right back.
What about ancestor worship? When looking at cultures all over the world in times past, and some in times present, or in some cases present, I would say in many cases present, there are many common elements in their belief systems. One of the most glaring is the fact that many of these religious systems incorporated ancestor worship. And
but
continue to do so.
Stop for a second. Before we move on, am I the only person who looked at this chapter title and said, what about it? Like, what does
Oh, no, you're not the only one.
Why are we talking about this? Like, what is the point?
He's going to try to say that the reason they all have ancestor worship in common is because they go back to the Tower of Babel. So people that were already worshiping their ancestors continued those traditions when they spread out. That's where I'm going to guess he's going with this.
This is dumb. This is dumb,
it is
guys.
Dumb. Yeah. Okay. In Japan, the old common religion was Shinto. Shinto has ancestor worship. In ancient Greece, there was ancestor worship, and many of these ancestors were, quote, immortals, or gods by people's reckoning. Technically, in some cases, like, if you want to say that some people claimed ancestry from demigods, who had, like, Zeus for a father, okay, but
you start, if you go far enough back though, and honestly, anytime you start getting into some of these ancient Near Eastern texts, the lines they do start to get kind of fuzzy,
they get blurry,
right? Things start to blur more and more. Lots of words that are used in these texts have a lot more nuanced meanings than we even know, right? So it's sometimes it's just so hard to.
Part of the problem is that the words that we translate between languages as like deity or god or whatever don't always have the same semantic range in another language as they do in English. So like in English, the word that we usually translate as god in Japanese is kami, but the word kami doesn't have the same range of meanings as god in English, right? A lot of relatively minor spirits can be thought of as kami in Shinto, and on the other hand, Shinto doesn't really have much to say about some kind of transcendent, omniscient, omnipotent controller of the entire universe, because that's not really the concern that any practitioners of Shinto are worried about. So there's that. There's also the fact that heck, you can see the echoes of ancestor worship, quote unquote, in the Bible when people talking about remembering people's names and things like, going down to the grave, and that when you're forgotten, that's when your shade kind of fades away and things like that. That's why people were remembered, so their shade would stay around. Also, did we get Keener R's super chat?
No, we're waiting for you to come back.
Okay, so Keener R for $2 says, cleaning grandpa's gravesite does not equal ancestor worship. Yeah, there's that too, right? Not every funerary ritual associated with ongoing respect for the departed is ancestor worship. Do people celebrating the Day of the Dead, are they conducting ancestor worship? Most of them would probably say no. If you go to Mexico and you see someone having a picnic by the gravesite of grandma, are you worshiping grandma? The answer is probably going to be no. I'm not worshiping grandma. This is a way to remember her. And maybe there's a belief
But even if you were, who cares?
Well, Bodie does. is the answer.
Yes, and this but this
Oh.
brings up another important point too, right? In many of these instances, worship is a like a tangible physical activity that you do,
Mhm.
and it's something. Yes, it's something that you certainly do in the presence of a deity, but it's also something that you do in the presence of other people, right? Like it's you're right about this. This is Bodie's problem.
Yeah,
This
but
is a
Yeah.
you problem, Bodie.
I mean, the thing is that that's a lot of this, right? A lot of this just comes down to Bodie has a problem theologically, and Bodie wants to explain it away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, too bad for him that all these people from other religions, and even most of them from his religion, aren't going to consult him before they do stuff. So
Yeah.
someone's going to have to deal with it.
Also, to what degree do you think that he thinks of the veneration of saints in non-Protestant versions of Christianity as some kind of ancestor worship adjacent practice?
He's going to think that it's totally
I bet 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Thanks, Alexander Hislop.
Terrible.
Freaking anti-Catholic
worship.
dogmatists.
Joshua Geese for $5. Sorry, Joshua Geese has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So hey, we're going 48. So here's 5 more, and Vishanti, if you want to keep going.
Okay. If one turns to ancient Egypt, there was ancestor worship, and even in Norse and Germanic religious thought. The list goes on from China to India to ancient Arabia to the Americas to the Celts.
Okay, hold on.
I love how these are regions, and then you get the Celts.
Yeah, but also like ancient Arabia, we don't actually have a lot of information about ancient Arabian practice. Like pre-Islam, we have some hints in like Nabatean ruins and whatnot. Especially if we go look at like some Nabatean graffiti, which was usually in Arabic, not Arabic as we know it now, but like early Arabic. But even then, like we don't actually have a great handle on what was actually practiced, and part of that is because there was a campaign to destroy as many relics of pre-Islamic religion as possible in the region. It was a purposeful campaign to erase, the signs of ignorance, jahiliyyah, if I remember correctly in Arabic. And so we don't have a lot to say. Like, were the ancient Arabians engaged in ancestor worship? Well, to the same extent that ancient Canaanites were, yeah, probably. But we don't know. We don't even know for sure the names of too many deities from ancient Arabia. Because really the only reports we get are various bits from like the Quran that preserve the names of these gods in order to condemn them. Which doesn't give us much, The Kaaba was supposed to be a place of 360 idols. Or 365 idols, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One for each day of the year, something like that. Okay, but who were they? We don't know. Was that even true? We don't know. We just don't know. We have very little information about this, which sucks. But also, Bodhi must be very broad with the term ancestor worship. Because these groups are not actually very characterized by ancestor worship in any significant way. Right? Does Bodhi think that a common funerary practice in a lot of East Asia, basically the places that have been the places that have been affected by Chinese cultural hegemony, right? A big part of Confucianism, which isn't really a religion, but whatever, is the veneration of family members and ancestors as family members, right? So there's usually a family shrine where you put pictures of deceased relatives, and you might pray in front of it, and you might burn some incense there. But is that ancestor worship? I mean, you're not generally thinking of these ancestors as great divine powers who can affect the cosmic forces of the universe. At best, they might be able to give you some luck in your own life if you make them happy. But is that worship? I don't know. And I don't know if Bodhi knows. I don't know if he knows that there are nuances to this. Let's see. Meat permits Tad.
Well, it would be unwelcome nuance.
I think Bodhi learned everything he knows about Chinese religion from Mulan.
Oh, hey!
Which I thought was great, by the way.
Bent gets free pizza now.
Hooray!
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Meat Permits Tat for $2 says, is the Cadian law of legibility ancestor worship? I don't know. Oh man. Rest in peace, Cadia, by the way. Or Cadia. Kip and Vishanti have no idea what that is.
I have no
I
idea
don't.
what's going on.
Abaddon the Despoiler crashed an entire Blackstone fortress into it. And it got destroyed. You guys don't even know.
Nope.
Oh well. And then John Hawkins
Sorry.
gets 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, which puts us over the Bent Gets Free Pizza number, as well as extends our stream to 53 extra minutes total. We're already 35 into that, so don't get too excited.
True.
I'll take 5, and Kip, feel free to keep going on that.
All right. Even many pagan tribes around the world still practice ancestor worship. Dun, dun, dun. Does the Tower of Babel and events surrounding it account for this?
No?
No.
What?
It does not.
Where would you even get that idea?
I don't know.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because it's this book about the Tower of Babel, so every chapter should have something to do with Babel, but
I mean, I was saying to Vish while you were away, Dapper, that I'm struggling to figure out why this chapter is in this book in the first place.
I don't even know.
So I mean, I guess this is it.
But,
Ancestor worship prior to Babel.
but wait, real quick, Metageeky Platypus Warlock gets a Dapper Dinosaur membership, so I'm taking a drink for it.
Oh, all right. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
I will just wait on the chip then. Some have thought that the ancestor worship seen in many cultures was due to ancestor worship prior to Babel. Well,
Okay.
I mean,
Ooh.
I think listen.
Okay.
If we are clear, as I pointed out when we started this book, that the Tower of Babel is like really probably riffing on the actual events of Nabopolassar's and Nebuchadnezzar II's renovation of Etem and Enki, which was completed in 590 BCE. Then, sure. Some have thought that ancestor worship can be seen in many cultures prior to 590 BCE. I'm being charitable.
By the way, we just got another super chat, and it put us to the fancy avatar, which means not only do we have a poll coming with Dapper or Dormammu Dapper as one of the options, but also I need to go buy lemonade, Lapsang Souchong black tea, which actually I think we already have. I think I have that already.
Oh, nice.
As well as espresso, and what was the liquor?
It's lemon liqueur.
Oh yeah, lemon. Yeah, it was like a lemon lemon.
Yeah,
cello.
so any
Okay.
lemon liqueur will do, because you can't have only bitter stuff. You need to have a little bit of sweet in there.
I'll be honest. That sounds like it's pretty weak. I might actually just add in a shot of vodka or something into a glass with that in it.
I mean, okay, but
Does that violate the purity of the drink?
no. I mean,
Okay.
the liqueur is alcoholic, right?
Yeah, it's not very alcoholic.
It doesn't have to be. And Arnold Palmer doesn't have alcohol in it. It's just black tea and lemonade.
This Arnold Palmer that I'm drinking right now has alcohol in it.
Okay, I mean... Ugh.
Let me add a little bit of vodka if I want to.
Okay, yeah, just throw in some vodka, whatever.
Keener R for $2 says, any smaller than one heaven's window equals too small for Bodie. Poor Bodie. Alright.
Don't forget the cherry garnish, by the way.
Oh yeah, you'll have to remind me,
You
actually,
didn't
probably.
Did you mention that?
He
I
did.
don't remember that. Oh,
Definitely mentioned it. That's part of the whole...
all right.
Jillian Wren said, Vishanti said no, and I said yes at the same time.
I feel like, though, it's going to be like one of those maraschino cherries. Because I feel like
Yeah.
if Laura Palmer were to drink drink garnished with a cherry, it would be one of the candy apple red maraschino cherries that you put on a sundae.
Yeah.
Because
you have to, because remember, like, Audrey tying the cherry stem in a knot.
Also, if I'm being
Black
honest, when it comes to drinks enjoyed by very young women, they tend to have very sweet candy apple red type garnish things on them.
Yeah.
I have
So,
seen this.
Yeah. Which, hey, that I am absolutely not knocking it. That is just
That's
thing
why
I tend to observe.
It's the thing, right? Yeah.
I'm an iconoclast in many ways, but one of the ways that I'm very much not like most women is I don't like sugary drinks.
Which is also great.
I mean, they give me headaches, like all the sugar in there. It makes my hangovers worse. And yeah, I just prefer stronger drinks.
Look, I am firmly of the position that me not enjoying something is in no way a reason that other people shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, that was the same thing with coffee. I didn't really like the taste of coffee itself until I started working at a coffee shop, and then I developed a palate, and now I mostly can drink black coffee. I'm cool with it. So
this occurs to me. I'm not sure what I'll do about the espresso part, because if I want to have it as a drink for a stream, I'll have to have enough espresso to like make 2 or 3 servings of this. So like I might have to get like a canned espresso or something, which might be terrible.
Yeah. The thing is like espresso really is best when it's fresh.
Yeah, but that's not going to be an option.
The flavor profile tastes once it settles, so it's like,
like you're right, but I don't have the option of going out and getting fresh espresso for every single drink that I take that I'm going to have. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like if you don't already have an espresso machine, and like they're kind of expensive.
Yeah,
even the cheap ones are expensive. It's
I'm going to have to get like
be far more likely to get at a bar where they could provide you with fresh.
Well, I'll just get some not fresh espresso, and it'll be okay.
Yeah. Prixie Purple saying get a mocha pot. Yeah, I mean, you could. There's ways to work around it, but it's a lot more effort than most people are probably going to put in. But, hey, whatever.
All right. Let's keep going. We still have a good 11 or 12 minutes, unless we get even more memberships. Oh, Josh McGee for $5 says, I know they're much more expensive, but Luxardo cherries are more tasty. Yes, but they're... Laura Palmer was not going to go out and get Luxardo cherries in her drink. I'm sorry, but that's just not her.
That's true.
And this is a drink based on Laura Palmer, whom we all miss, by the way.
We do.
We miss her so much.
Okay, yeah, the chat is not subtle. They're like, put the espresso machine on your wish list! Okay.
Okay, fine. I will go put an espresso machine on my wish list right now while Kip reads.
Fine, I'm doing it right now.
You will not regret it.
There's some you can get for like $100, but then there's some that are like, I would question
$8,000.
All right, Shesh. Chat, sorry.
You don't have to get an $8,000 one.
Should I put the $550 thing on there, or should I put like the $120 version on there? What do you think?
Okay, so there's one that's usually around 40, and it makes like 4 cups of espresso, and I'm like, it looks like it can actually pull legitimate shots.
I might have to look for that.
It's small. I could do that. I could stick it on her. Like, as long as I recognize the components that would actually allow you to pull proper shots of espresso, so that's actually a good option. Okay.
I don't even know.
If you need help consulting on what elements will allow you to pull proper shots.
I'm probably just going to put one that's a bit over $100. Like, there's some that are like a bit over 100 with high rating. That are like, probably fine.
Like, usually those that are in the, like, 100 to 150 range, usually those are all looking pretty good.
Yeah.
It's good advice, Kinnear.
Yeah, like, basically what you need is a mechanism in which to shoot really super hot water through very concentrated beans. Such that it gives you, like, the body, the base, and like the little foamy looking head on the top. So
All right, I have added a espresso machine to my wish list. There you go, everybody. Keener R says both the left let the grifter have the
I think that's Gifter.
Gifter. Oh, I said gift. I said grifter, didn't I? I'm gonna blame the Arnold Palmers, which are in fact hard Arnold Palmers. Yeah, Gifter. I forgot what I said. Oh, here's one thing. If you try to get something from my wish list ever, and it says that it can't be delivered to that address, please let me know, because Amazon does not give any kind of warning about that kind of thing. And they always say, oh, we're working on this problem. And it has been a problem for years now. So if anytime you ever try to get me something and Amazon says it can't ship to a gift address, please let me know, because I will take it off my wish list, because I don't want things on there that people can't gift, because that's silly. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, it sucks.
All right. It has been suggested that after the splitting of languages, the various people groups took their variant forms of ancestor worship to different parts of the world. Many people are saying this.
Yeah.
Indeed, this would explain such things, but it is actually likely that ancestor worship was not happening prior to Babel.
Well, I have no idea how he would assess this, but I will say this. I don't think we need a common cultural core to ancestor worship to explain its general ubiquity.
Right.
Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Hey, do you have loved ones who have died? Do you miss them? Would you like to do something that makes you feel better about that? Okay, ancestor worship. It's just that simple. Do you miss your departed loved ones?
It really is.
Like,
wow.
I'm going to take a drink for, like, man, we need a common cultural core to this idea. Like, well, people couldn't just develop the idea of doing things to feel closer to their now departed ancestors.
Noah and his sons were still alive, according to the genealogies, and people had just recently migrated from Noah's farm.
He grew grapes, so he had a farm, Kip. That's how it works. Jeez. Kip, you should show this to some of your colleagues.
Sorry. To settle in Shinar, and specifically in Babel. Oh, man.
Dang, some of these come with a steam on, so you can actually make proper lattes and cappuccinos. Nice.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 said, you can make a religion out of this. Yeah, exactly.
You can make a religion out of it.
It's...
Yes!
Like there
A+ tier reference.
There are cross-cultural things, right, that are just so basic and easy to think up that it shouldn't be a surprise that people from across cultures, across time, have come up with it. Flood stories,
right?
Giants, ancestor worship, these are all aspects of things that people can just come up with.
It's nutty. Yeah. Anyways, in other words, people grew up in the household presence of Noah, a preacher, and his sons. Even Canaan had access to Noah and
even
his
him
teachings for some time prior to moving to Babel. Go figure. And it's like, if he was there, everyone was listening to him.
Obviously.
And doing exactly what he said.
But also,
all the time.
This comes back to something we already talked about, which was that when you take a look at all these genealogies and you line them up and you see who overlapped with who, right? You find out, like, oh, like, this guy from 9 generations later was actually alive when Noah was alive and whatnot. And it's like, okay, why doesn't the Bible ever talk about these things? It's because the ages are a literary device, and the authors aren't actually thinking about them in terms of, like, okay, so according to the math, this would mean that Noah was alive for, like, 150 years while his great 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 grandson was alive, and they probably would have talked. That wasn't a thing because the ages are literary inventions applied to the ages of other literary inventions. Someone sat down and made up Noah. That's how this works. Keener R for $2 says, would Bodie be mad/proud if you made a religion of it? Yeah, he'd probably be mad. Probably be mad.
Good thing we don't care what he thinks.
I absolutely do not care what Bodie... Well, okay, I care what nonsense he peddles to other people that they then believe, which then goes on to make them become skeptical of actual science, which then leads to things like the Department of Health and Human Services being run by a brain-dead moron who has a dead worm in his brain and who is admitted to multiple environmental crimes, and who recently forced out the guy who said he was going to do the studies on vaccines that he said he wanted done because he knew that guy would do the studies and find that, in fact, yes, vaccines are safe and effective.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it leads to. That kind of thing. That's why I care to some degree what Bodie thinks. Do I care what Bodie thinks about me personally or my religious affiliations or practices? Oh, I do not care about that. So we have 4 more minutes. Let's...
Yeah, okay. Considering that the people knew God's command to fill the earth and tried to defy it, and that some people who left Babel did retain a godly heritage in order to pass this heritage along to people like Abraham, Melchizedek, Abimelech, and Lot.
Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, he's just picking good guys from the patriarchal narratives.
Yeah. Trying to think of how Abimelech gets in this list.
He's just portrayed as a worshiper of the God of Israel. That's it.
Yeah, okay, I guess.
Literally, that's it.
It makes more sense that ancestor worship likely developed after the events at Babel. This author would pretentiously leave open that the seeds of such a belief may indeed have been at Babel, but they had seen little, if any. Oh God, what the
fruition?
They had seen little, if any, fruition. You know, in another context, Bodie would in another context and from another person, Bodie would probably decry this as a pronoun violation. But here he is. They had seen little, if any, fruition.
When creationists and right-wingers say the word pronoun, they just mean transgender.
Yeah.
That's just what they mean.
That's it.
So when they're like, I don't use pronouns, they just mean I'm not trans.
So I think that actually, though, the antecedent to they is seeds. So even under, like...
Oh, do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. Even under the whole, like, I don't like pronouns version, he'd probably be...
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, maybe they had seen those.
Yeah, so he's not using this as a gender neutral. He's using it as plural.
All right.
Because of seeds.
I get it. Yeah, you're right about that. Okay, my bad. But
ask a right winger what a pronoun is. Ask if they can identify more than one pronoun in like a text.
Yeah, right.
See what happens. Because they won't say that. Oh, this is a pronoun. It is.
Hey, guess what?
There's another pronoun.
Jessica Bell says in the chat, Sunday mornings are so bittersweet for me. Sad because they signal the start of my work week. Joy because I get to watch a Dapper Vishanti Kip live stream.
Well,
on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, wow. This person must be across the date line.
On Sunday
morning. Hey, I am glad that we can provide that. Look,
I am too.
We have a lot of fun, and I think it's a good time. But we are at the point where we don't have enough time left to really get into the next one. Did ancestor worship transfer between nations? Which,
like all things,
like what hasn't transferred between nations? Like seriously.
Jeez.
So there's two competing ideas that are in tension in history and archaeology and what, right? One is diffusion, and the other one doesn't really have a fun name, but it's just the idea that cultures can come up with things on their own. And there are people who like to be at either end of the spectrum of like, no, cultures are just their own little islands.
Hyperdiffusionism.
And then you get like hyperdiffusionism, which is like everyone had to get everything they accept from one Earth civilization. Both of those are nonsense. cultures can and do routinely come up with their own beliefs, their own practices, their own rituals, their own mores, whatever. Also, cultures routinely trade goods, ideas, practices, all that stuff. Neither of these extremes is correct. You do not need Atlantis or transatlantic Egyptian travel to explain rocks being stacked on other rocks in the New World. You just don't. Further, you don't need to explain every single thing that Christians have ever done as being quote-unquote stolen from the pagans. Neither of these ideas is right. They're both silly. It turns out that, yes, in fact, sometimes people can get ideas from other civilizations, and sometimes humans can figure out how to put one rock on top of another rock all on their own.
You know, it's kind of funny how both of the extreme ends of that spectrum are polemically, based.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it's usually some kind of ideology. Because if you care about the evidence, then you don't go around assuming that everything has one single cause. But hey, we are now at the point where we have just a bit gone over the time that we had allotted for this. Vishanti, in about a minute or so, what do you got coming up that you want people to know about?
Chrissy and I have begun developing our series on anti-Semitic tropes. It's taking a little bit longer than it should because Chrissy has to rest her voice. So, we're working on the scripting first, and we have a bunch of topics that we've got going, so that's going to be coming up soon, and then whatever Kip's next stream is, if he needs me to produce it, I will be doing that. That's about all I got in the immediate term, minus the Doctor Strange reviews that I've had in the pipeline that I got behind on.
Okay.
No one was surprised.
Kip, what do you got coming up?
Yeah. Oh my god. My next stream? My next stream is on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Now I have to look. I'm pretty sure it's Friday. But I sure hope it's Friday, because the next thought I had was that it's Wednesday and it's Friday. So holy smokes, I am crazy excited about Friday's stream, because Friday is Professor David Carr Day. Dr. David Carr is going to be on my channel talking about with me and Vish, talking about the composition of the Torah, scholarly theories with regards to the composition of the Torah, how our knowledge of Scrabble practices in the Iron Age contributes to ideas about the composition of the Torah and biblical literature more broadly. And he's going to stick around and answer audience questions. So seriously, guys,
check that out.
Friday, I think it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm actually kind of nervous about it, just because. Oh no, it's at noon. Sorry, it was 3:00 his time. That's it. So it's at noon on Friday.
What's noon Pacific? 3 p.m. Eastern.
Noon
That's
Pacific.
correct. Thank you. Noon Pacific. But yeah, if you don't know, Dr. David Carr is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm having my
your April collabs are just about to be off the chain.
It really is. April's a big month. So I can also I'll announce it here too. The only Dr. Justin Sledge from Esoterica will be on my channel on the evening of Wednesday, April 30th. I think that's at 4:30 Pacific, so 7:30 Eastern.
Freaking hype!
I know. Yes. I thought Vishanti might die when she found out.
I did freak out. I'm still freaking out.
I freaked out.
Yeah. So You did freak out. Everybody was freaking out. So that's happening at the end of the month. And I'm still also lining up. I don't know if that's going to happen this month or next month, but I'm still also lining up Erin Thompson, who's going to talk about her work with forgeries and antiquities and how she may or may not have discovered who the forger of the Dead Sea Scrolls fragments was. But
by the way, last night on Pelagia and Dave's Toast to Toast stream, they were talking about some of your work and how you had discussed previously how forgeries are easier if you actually have a parchment or skin that's contemporary to the area you're trying to forge from, and then you draw the letters and stuff on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how a lot of them are done.
I would expect so, yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll pass
but the problem
dating and whatnot.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. The problem with that, as we discovered, is that a lot of this material is already damaged. So, which is kind of the point of using, what happens though is that wouldn't you know it, ink applied to a damaged parchment or leather doesn't really behave as well as ink applied to a fresh skin of vellum, right? So, but it's kind of, in retrospect, it is a little embarrassing how long it took us to figure that out. But we got it right eventually. So so there's big stuff coming up. Oh, also, I think on Thursday I'm going to be with Dr. Josh on Mark Reed's channel for a little bit, and then I'm going to be on Zodanza filling in for Dan because he got married and he's in Japan. So
fun stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what's coming up here for me is later at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, I should be on Chesh's Debate Hub channel for what she's calling Debate Pub, which is our current events show. Look forward to that. Then on Tuesday, we got Kent with Bent number 160. Then on Thursday, we've got the next, which I believe is the final. I'm not sure now. It's the next in the series that we're doing, and I'm gonna double check as to what it is. It's the final one about the interview between Kent Hovind and Dan Biddle. But this one involves a whole lot of claims that actually come from John Sanford. So we're actually going to be addressing some John Sanford nonsense. So that's Thursday at noon. That's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then Saturday, we're going to continue talking about Ancestor worship. So that'll be, again, at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to make sure that Bent decides what kind of pizza he wants when he wants it, and also work on a poll that will include Dormammu Dapper, as requested by Vishanti. And also, we should be getting somewhat close to the point where we can get a new emoji. I want another emoji, and we're still going to have a few more membership drives to actually get there. But the numbers are going up, so that's good. All right, so thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a safe rest of your weekend. Tell your family that you love them, unless, of course, they were a bunch of abusive dicks, in which case, tell your chosen family that you love them. So, I'll get out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye!
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Van Tovind, Furgevara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Max Cherry, North Texas Fossils, John Ackerman, Strawberry Vein, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, Elleron Teller, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostek von Mennen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Sphincter of Doom, and Volus. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.